Well, hello everyone, and to all the senses out there that monitor the community guidelines, we want to always let you know at the New Health Conversation, we only supply medical proof that is it's in the public domain. So all the listeners, all the people that are coming on my podcast, they get to see the medical proof if they want to see it. We make no claims. We don't need to make claims. We only rely on peer-reviewed human trial studies that have been vetted by the top experts in the world. We've written 4 best-selling books with some of the top medical doctors in the world, 20 shows on public broadcasting, 1,500 live lectures around the world. We pride ourselves in providing people with free information on the latest trends in weight loss and health. So it's very important you understand we absolutely stay within your community guidelines. And we're always curious to see if these other people on social media that are making all these claims and they don't have one shred of a medical proof. We have that. Hello, Paige. Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Leanne. A lot of you are joining this morning. So listen, this is absolutely true. It is not a diet. It's not about counting calories. There was no exercise involved. It's completely revolutionary. When I tell you how amazing it is and how simple it is, you'll be pretty much shocked. It took researchers 40 years, the people who invented this. Now, let me clarify something. There are no products here. There's no lotions, potions, pills, magic elixir. Essentially, what they did was they figured out how to give us the most amount of nutrition in the least amount of food. That's principle number one. Principle number two was 2 completely different ways of eating food based on what they call eating patterns. It's not a diet. It doesn't work like that. I'm going to explain it to you all in a moment, but let's go back over. One of the biggest problems with diets and the reason they're such miserable failures is because you're all counting calories. I'd love for anybody, if you know, can anybody give me the medical definition of a calorie? Because a calorie means nothing to your body. Why you're counting calories, I know why, because that's what everybody is telling you. So let's review again. How in the world did she do this? You'll notice scientific breakthrough unlocked her extraordinary weight loss, proven in 10, they're right here. It's published in 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies. This protocol is going to change the world. This sounds like a big, bold statement on my part. Are you really serious about losing weight, or you just want to fool around and do keto and paleo and Mediterranean, all these things that are just, it's all cosmetic? There's no doubt you can lose weight initially on any diet, but there's never been a diet yet tested. Listen to me. Tested yet where people were able to really keep the weight off long term. I've got people like Harvard Medical School saying stop counting calories. I mean, it just goes on and on. Another big study, why you shouldn't count calories. Here's Medicare talking about Medicare's search for effective obesity treatments. Diets are not the answer. We'll get into that in a little more detail in just a moment. I don't want to come across as some ogre here, but we've got to come to reality at some point, I think, because in 1964, we had about 10, 12, 15% of the population overweight and obese. And right now, the projection from Johns Hopkins Medical School, I have the study, I have it right here. Study predicts obesity apocalypse by 2030. In 4.5 years, they estimate 86% of you are going to be overweight or obese. Does that sound to you like diets are working? So these researchers have done 40 years, they've done 100 studies over 40 years. And sadly, they came to these 2 conclusions. One, not only did any diet ever keep weight off long term, so it was unsustainable, but 2/3 of people actually gained more weight than they lost. It's a complete tragedy. We're here, the New Health Conversation, which is our movement that you can join if you choose. It's nothing, you don't have to buy anything, you don't have to join anything. But you have access to the information. If you want to know more, then we offer you free coaching, for example, right? Now, what happened is that these researchers, after 100 studies, they said counting calories is over. It's over. So the basic principle here, because I know you have all short attention spans. Imagine you had the top weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world who figured out they selected foods only 30% from the United States and 70% from exotic locations around the world like Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand. And their only concept was, we want to give you massive amounts of nutrition. Now, if we can do that with less food, it's probably going to work, because it was a theory when they originally did this. Look, I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks 23 years ago. I've kept it off for 23 years. She's not the only one. You can see there she lost 21 pounds and 38 inches in a month with no exercise allowed. Now, calm down. The researchers, it's not that they were against exercise, but they limited exercise because otherwise you would have said it's diet and exercise. So effectively, I'm going to give you the simplest version because everybody's in a big hurry. As far as the food she ate, 30% came from the grocery store in the United States, organic foods. That the researchers, and instead of giving you calorie amounts, they give you serving sizes. This was all basically engineered or figured out in a way that they could give you the most amount of nutrition, but still give you less food. Okay? The other 70% of the food that they use, because this is what they did. They figured out the only thing your body runs on, it doesn't know what a calorie is. Why are you counting calories? I keep coming back to that. So if you can give your body enough nutrition, your body will basically settle down and come back to kind of like your DNA weight. That's exactly what they did. But it wasn't just the food that they had to eat, 30% from the grocery store and 70% around the world. They created two new ways, well, a new way of eating called protein pacing. And to lose the weight, this is what you would do. 5 days a week, you'd have 4 meals a day. You'd start with these exotic foods around the world. No food from the grocery store. Lunch from the grocery store list. Dinner from the grocery store list. And a fourth meal after dinner. That's called protein pacing. You do that 5 days a week. 2 days a week, you do something, and this will spin you out, but this is why it worked, called intermittent nutritional fasting, but not fasting, not water fasting, not time restricted eating. On those days, no food from the grocery store, only these exotic foods, but this time she was eating 8 times a day. She was eating every hour and a half or 2 hours. What I want to impress upon you, it was these new eating patterns that they had figured out. They did all kinds of combinations. They had them give all the nutrition like at dinner. Skip dinner, skip lunch. No, it didn't work. They gave them 50% of the nutrition for lunch and dinner. That didn't work. It was the systematic distribution of the nutrition over a longer period of time that made all the difference. The other thing I should tell you, people on this that weighed 400 pounds were not hungry. If I teach you anything, it's stop counting calories. You are not hungry for calories no matter what you think. That is it's outdated, antiquated, over. Give up counting calories. The only thing that we're alive because of 3 factors: air, water, and nutrition, not calories, okay? I hope I'm making sense. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible because I know that everybody's in such a rush and hurry. They want a 30-second explanation. I'm sorry I can't do it in 30 seconds, but I'll do my best to do it in a minute or two. So again, let's come back to the basic theory. Now, who invented this? Not me. It was invented by the top weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world who'd done 100 studies over 40 years, and they proved to themselves no diet ever worked long term. I'm sad to tell you that because you're all on diets now. But we're talking in 4.5 years, nearly 90% of you are going to be overweight or obese. Do you think we need a new solution? I know it sounds too simple, but it wasn't that simple. Because first they had to figure out what foods and what amounts would give you the most amount, it would give you large amounts of nutrition, but not huge amounts of food, and use 30% of the food only from the United States. Why? Because our food in this country is becoming more and more nutritionally insufficient. That's a kind word. The key was the 70% of the food had been discovered by other researchers who'd gone around the world for 20 years to find foods with huge amounts of nutrition with small amounts of food. You can't do this. Don't think you're going to eat healthy and go organic and pull this off. They tried it. It didn't work because in order to give yourself enough nutrition, if you do it all organic in this country, you have to eat too much food. I mean, it's just that simple. Here's a better example. Let's say your body was a car, which is not, but you'll get this. And so you go to the gas station to fill up your body, and pump number 1 says this tank, which is organic food available in North America, will take you 20 miles. The second pump says this pump come from these exotic foods around the world, one gallon will take you 100 miles. That's what the researchers did. But it was more than that. It wasn't just what they were consuming, it was when they were consuming, how much they were consuming, when they were consuming, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like I said, this protocol called R2M, that's what it's called, race to maintenance, which is based on those 2 new principles, protein pacing and something called intermittent nutritional fasting, but it's not fasting, it's not water fasting, it's not time restricted eating. You've got to understand, ladies and gentlemen, there's no one, can you show me anybody on social media that's showing you one shred of medical evidence about what they're claiming. This is revolutionary. But it took 40 years for them to figure out something that would seem almost intuitively obvious, but it wasn't. Sometimes the simplest things are right in front of us and we just can't see it, right? So again, let's talk about how did she do this? Well, she did it because the people who invented it, who are the top weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world, figured out that counting calories was dead over finished. I'll show you some studies in a moment, but I want to explain to you so that you don't get impatient what's possible here. This sounds crazy. There's no products involved with what she did. It's only food, but 30% from the United States, I'll tell you why in a moment, and 70% from exotic foods around the world, even from blue zones where people live to be 100 years old. And those foods have huge amounts of nutrition, but our food in this country used to be like that 150 years ago. But we've so overfarmed and not rotated the crops and herbicides and pesticides that the nutritional values keep going down to the point where we're barely hanging on, even if you do totally organic. When you're hungry, you are not hungry for calories. Please understand that. The only thing you're hungry for is for nutrition. Zena, you get it. You get it. You get it. You get it. Wonderful, Zena. But understand, if you think you're going to do it with food from North America, I'm sorry to tell you, that horse has left town. That's why the research is limited to the amount of food you would consume. Only 30% proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, and vegetables from your grocery store. And they did not want you to count calories because they know calories don't mean anything. It's total nonsense. So what happens is they picked, the researchers, protein, fats, carbs, fruits, and vegetables, and gave you serving sizes. So if it's a vegetable, is it a third or a half a cup? You don't have to guess. It's all laid out. You're going to do exactly what they did in the medical trials. You're going to do exactly what she did. Why wouldn't you? Any of you, if you were going to lose 20 pounds, tell me how long you'd be honest. This is an open discussion. This is not pre-recorded. This is live right now I've been a nutritional researcher for 23 years. I'm not telling this to impress you, but you want to understand my background. I wrote 4 best-selling books, some of the biggest medical doctors in the world, did 20 shows on PBS, and over 1,500 lectures around the world. And I'll tell you this, despite all that academic proof, didn't matter. Because in the medical world, unless you have peer-reviewed human trial studies, it means zero. Zero. You know, I saw people coming on today. Now they have a natural alternative to the GLP-1s, and they said, well, it has a scientific agreement. That's nonsense. Unless they didn't do a peer-reviewed human trial study, I'm telling you that right now, because they'd be exposed for the claims they're making. They can't back up. This is backed up. It was published in 10 of the biggest medical journals in the world. For all those of you coming on the new, what in the world did she do? Let me give you the short version. The researchers who created it are the #1 weight loss researchers in the world. And not only weight loss, but nutrition and physiology. They'd done 100 studies over 40 years and about every kind of diet there was, and they came to one conclusion. They had never found a diet in 40 years where people lost weight and kept it off, and 2/3 of the people gained more than they lost. I want to point out for all of you, right above her head there in blue, the new health conversation. That's this movement. That's the website. You can go to that website. It's completely free to go there. There's nothing to buy. The only thing there is the medical proof and an interview with the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world they don't have any products. There's no product to buy here. He will explain to you why they've now abandoned traditional diets. They said they'll never recommend to any of their patients a traditional diet again. They said it would be unethical. They said, Peter, why would we put people on a diet? It took them 8 weeks to lose the weight. These people lose it in a week. And on all diets, 25 to 40% of what you're losing is your lean muscle mass. Why is that so bad? Because it slows down your metabolism. That's why you plateau. You're all headed for plateaus. And then the other part, 2/3, you're going to weigh more than what you did when you started. You can't argue the fact that the weight loss, obesity numbers keep going up, 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 and we have more and more and more diets. They're all based on one principle: calories in, calories out. Total, done, finished, that's over. That dog don't hunt. Can any of you imagine losing 5 pounds a week without exercise? It says right there, proven safe in 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies. 10 published in 10 of the biggest journals in the world. They vetted it. You think they're going to endorse it if they didn't think it was safe, if the medical proof wasn't there? My God, they did, in the studies, they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis. and muscle analysis, proving that this is safe. She gained 6 to 9% lean muscle, lost no water weight. Look at her body. Look at that. You can see her waist and her hips. That's in 30 days with no exercise. Are you curious, any of you? How much this program costs? Raj, you're buying food. So took whatever you spent last month, take 30% or less, maybe 25% at the grocery store, leaving you 75% of what you spent last month. It should pretty much pay for these exotic foods around the world. Remember, this is not a product. You're not buying some lotion, potion, pills. So you're buying your food and then plus this. Only 25 to 30% of what you're going to spend is at the grocery store. The other 70 or 75%. Now, if it doesn't, most people say maybe it's $25 more a week to do this full protocol. But you can't buy food. You can't buy these foods in your grocery store. And without these foods, it doesn't work. They proved it. They did it with organic food. It didn't work because our food in this country has just become so lacking in nutrition, period. Even organic, 200 studies proved organic is slightly better, maybe 10% than regular food nutritionally. The reason you're organic is less polluted. But there's so many reasons to do this. No fasting, no fasting. It's intermittent nutritional fasting. You're fasting with nutrition. No, it's not fasting or water fasting or time restricted eating. As a matter of fact, on the days when you're doing, it's called intermittent nutritional fasting, Raj, for 48 hours, you're eating 8 times a day. No food from the grocery store, only these exotic foods around the world. But they're tiny amounts of food with huge amounts of nutrition. These blue zones, that people living to be 100 years old and they don't get sick. Why? Because they're getting these massive amounts of nutrition in little amounts of food. And they're satisfied because you're not satisfied by the quantity of food you're eating or the amount of calories. You're satisfied by one principle, nutrition. Raj, you get it. You get it. And Raj, you can go to the website. See, listen, don't believe me. I didn't do the research. I'm not the person creating this. But the number 1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world, Raj, go listen to what he says on the website. It's a podcast where he says the top people in the world, will never recommend any traditional diet again. Because hell, they did 100 studies over 40 years and proved no diet ever worked long term. Should that concern us? Yes, because the evidence is clear. Do you know from 1990 to 2025, that's 35 years, obesity rates have doubled. You know how many more diets we have in 35 years than 35 years ago? This is insanity. And most of you are going to go back to this ridiculous calories in, calories out, which can't work, doesn't work because you're relying on food, for example, from North America. And the code word for lowering calories is you're reducing the amount of food you're consuming. Well, why do you eat in the first place? I know it tastes good. No, the only reason to eat is not for calories. It's for nutrition. Yes, I get very excited and I yell and I scream because I'm your advocate. I'm the canary in the coal mine. I've been attacked for 23 years. I wrote one of the first books and really shook up the medical community, and we're not selling books. There's no books for sale on that website. It's called Why Diets Are Failing Us. It came out in 2010, 15 years ago. And we said, why in the world are people counting calories when the body has no idea what a calorie is? All of you are doing something that just makes no sense now when we look back. I counted calories 25 years ago before I became a researcher. That's what everybody was doing. They're still doing it today. Despite all these diets and all these schemes, why in the world, how in the hell from 1990 to 2025, obesity rates have doubled? Does that sound like we're making progress? We're losing the battle against obesity. We've got 1 billion people worldwide now clinically obese. It's only for women. No. Men, watch this, men. How's this? 65-year-old man, 40.8 pounds, 52.5 inches in a month. Anybody ever seen anything like that? And look at his blood work. Look at his A1C from 8.4 to 6.4. Triglycerides 242 to 124 in 30 days with no exercise. You can think it's fake. It's not, though. And the reason it's not fake is because these results, these studies, were accepted and published in 10 of the biggest medical journals in the world that have one job, and that's to discredit what these people. That's why you won't see any of these influences. Why? How come nothing that they're recommending to you is backed by a peer-reviewed human trial study? And the peer-reviewed human trial studies that are done are pitiful. Let me read one to you here from, where did I do with it? Hold on, just give me 1 second. Oh, here it is. from big meta-analysis at UCLA. What that means is it's the study of studies. I'm going to just read. I'll go real fast, I promise. I want you to understand I'm not giving you my opinion. But if you pay attention to this, it could change the rest of your life or not. So what did they say in this study? A landmark, they call it a landmark, meta-analysis by Tracy Mann and colleagues published in American Psychologist reviewed 31 long-term studies on calorie-restricted diets and exposed the harsh truth. This is not me saying that. Now listen, they went on to say, at least 2/3 of dieters ended up regaining more than they initially lost. The analysis, where do you hear this? The analysis conducted that dieting itself predicts future weight gain. You're going on a diet to gain weight. You can be mad at me. I know people get really mad at me. They want to argue with me. My God, we're here to give you a gift, the knowledge. We didn't create it. The New Health Conversation, it's a movement. We'd love for everybody to join. It doesn't cost anything to join. And you can get access to all the free medical proof at the New Health Conversation. You don't have to join anything. If you decide to do it, that's even better because we welcome people that come on and do it. And a lot of them help because it's free coaching, everybody. We got coached. There's no way you could do this without a coach. Why would you? If you could join a gym and get a free personal trainer, would you do it? I hope so. So who has, did she take it? No, she doesn't need any vitamins, Zena. How? This looks like a big revolution. Sounds pretty. Yes, Raj, it is. This interest loss is so awesome. Right, exactly. I'm very interested. Great, Raj. So Zena, too. I'm going to explain it to you in a moment, Zena. So look at, do you see the website there, Raj? The New Health Conversation. Give me a yes. Now, Zena, let me explain to you what happened, okay? The principle of this I think it'll make sense to everybody. Had nothing to do with counting calories. The researchers said, Zena, they'd done 100 studies over 40 years of every kind of diet, calories in, calories out, keto, paleo, Mediterranean, fasting, Cornish zone, whatever diet. They never found a diet in 40 years where people lost weight and kept it off, and 2/3 of people gained more than they lost. And the fundamental reason was really pretty simple. The body, we're alive because of three things: air, water, and nutrition. But the researchers figured out that all diets, counting calories, is some form of reducing the amount of food you're consuming. And when you do that, you're also lowering the amount of nutrition. So the researchers said the only way this is ever going to work, if we can give people less food, the quantity of the food, but give them more nutrition. Because your brain, when you drop below a certain amount of nutrition, which happens on every diet, that's what's going on. You don't have enough nutrition. The brain freaks out, goes into starvation mode, and uses your muscles for fuel. Every study, Zena, 25 to 40% of what you're losing is lean muscle mass. Let's say you lost 20 pounds. 5 to 8 pounds is your lean muscle mass, which slows your metabolism down and your immune system. So actually, these diets are making us unhealthy. That's why even people like Harvard Medical School stop counting calories. That's Harvard Medical School, not me saying that. So the researchers, their goal was one thing: no more calorie counting. No, you're not going to count calories. They went and the theory was, can we find foods? We're going to give you less food, but the foods we're going to select have much higher levels of nutrition. That is the key principle to this whole thing. But that's only 50% of the battle. The other 50% is a completely new way of eating called eating patterns. It's called protein pacing, is actually the term. And they got a registered trademark U.S. Patent Office of a new way of eating. I'm going to explain it all to you in a moment. But Zena, I want you to understand. So the researchers started by giving her a food list. Only 30% of what she consumed was from foods in the United States, all organic, proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, and vegetables. Got it? No calorie counting, only serving sizes. But here's why you don't need vitamins. They had found other researchers who had gone around the world for more than 20 years to places like Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, to find foods with huge amounts of nutrition naturally. So, for example, some of the foods had 22 naturally occurring vitamins. Not supplements, not a pill you're taking. It's in the food itself. And they're from these blue zones in some cases where people living to be 100 years old. So, Zena, the key was you had massive amounts of nutrition, but small quantities of food. Now, the next thing they wanted to do, okay, what's the best way to consume these foods? So here's what they did. 5 days a week, this is for all of you, by the way. You'd eat 4 times a day. You'd start in the morning with, now, by the way, Rosina, these researchers call these nutrients the world's most perfect meals from a nutritional standpoint, which is the only thing any of you should ever care about. Breakfast, the world's most perfect meal. Lunch from the grocery store list, again, their list and the serving sizes, right? Dinner from the grocery list, and a 4th meal after dinner, the world's most perfect meal. Notice it's 4 meals a day. That was very important. So it wasn't just about getting all this nutrition. It was when you got it, how much you got, over what period of time. That's where protein pacing came in. So that's 5 days a week, 4 meals a day. 2 days a week, they did something called, that's what someone was saying, that intermittent nutritional fasting. Not fasting, not water fasting, not time restricted eating. On those days, no food from the grocery store at all, only these exotic foods from around the world. But this time, she was eating 8 times a day. She literally was eating every hour and a half. Diabetics on this, no one had insulin spikes. People that weighed 300 and 400 pounds were not hungry. Because all of you, the key is not calories. Your body has no idea what a calorie is. I would challenge any of you to give me the technical definition of a calorie. I didn't know what it is. We've had 9 people in a year get it right, so I doubt that most of you have any idea what a calorie is, and yet you're counting them for some unknown reason. The key to life is the amount of nutrition you have to run all your organs. And if you drop below a certain point, the body will use your muscles for fuel. It's not up for debate, everybody. Look at people that lose this weight and they have all the loose skin because the only thing they lost was lean muscle mass. See, you don't lose fat. There's no such thing as burning fat. That's a bunch of nonsense. You're born with a certain number of fat cells, you die with a certain number of fat cells, and the fat cells expand or contract over your lifetime. And someone was saying this is revolutionary. This is better than revolutionary. Because the other thing that I want you all to, Raj and everybody else, is the fact that this has been now published in 10 of the biggest medical journals in the world. Now, why would you care about that? Because in order to get published in these big journals, you take the risk that you submit, not me, but the research, you submit your work. And the goal of the journal, number one, they don't review your work. They send it out to other world-class experts. That's what peer review means, independent. You know what the job is of those peer reviewers? To discredit what you're proven. That's why you won't see any of these influences that you're all following. Why don't they have a peer-reviewed human trial study? Because they can't substantiate the claims they're making to you. They're giving you opinions. And a before and after picture doesn't matter. Despite this, I know it's a before and after picture, but it's from the people in the medical studies. Just like, I mean, look at this one, everybody. How about 35 pounds in 37 days with no exercise? The only reason they didn't let them exercise, they didn't want exercise to be an outlier. Otherwise, you would have said, well, she lost weight because it was diet and exercise. No, it wasn't. There was no exercise involved. You can exercise on this, okay? Let me just say that to you. And then look at this, everyone. This is the daughter of a friend of mine. Most of the time I get accused, it's a different woman. Look at her face, look at her arms, look at her body. Is it the same woman? Is it Memorex? Remember those old commercials? Some of you do, some of you probably wouldn't remember. But that's, and she's kept it off for 8 or 9 years. She lost 60 pounds in 3 months. That's 5 pounds a week per week for 3 straight months. She's now at her goal, and she's been there for 8 or 9 years. And then, someone asked about men. You heard when you get older, it's really hard to lose weight. Don't tell him this. This is like a 65-year-old guy. Yes, that's not a misprint. 40 pounds, 52 inches in 30 days. 30 days. Look at his A1C from 8.4 to 6.4, triglycerides 242 to 124. And again, we got 155 likes. Can we get some more taps on that screen to get some more likes going here? But who else? There's a bunch of you on here now. Who else would like to ask me a question? Let me review so I don't lose your attention. Let me tell you what's behind this. Who invented it? The number one, considered the number one weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world, who done 40 years, 100 studies of every diet almost out there, and they concluded they never found a diet in 40 years where people could lose weight and keep it off. That's the simple version. And the reason for that was every diet out there is some form, for the most part, of counting calories. Your body has no idea what a calorie is. The problem is that when you think you're hungry, it's not for calories. It's for there are 3 things that keep us alive: breathing, drinking water, and eating nutrition, not calories. So the researchers, here was their theory. What if we could give people, what if we could go find foods, a different look, where we would concentrate, yes, we'd want to find foods where we could give you less foods in quantity, but foods with much higher levels of nutrition. It's exactly what they did. So they gave her a grocery list that the researchers developed, not me. I have nothing to do with that. Proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, and vegetables. But instead of calorie amounts, they give her serving sizes, because the researchers calculated, or like say X ounces of steak or chicken that was necessary to give, for example, the proteins that the body needed. If it was carbohydrates, was it a cup, a third a cup, half cup? It's all laid out. You don't have to guess anything. You actually would get the physical grocery list, but only 30% of what she consumed. And there's a reason for that, because our food in North America, in case you don't know, is becoming more and more nutritionally insufficient. That's why you get so hungry, because your body's telling you, give me more nutrition. It's not saying, give me more calories. We're mixing, that's the signal that we're hearing. So then what do? To make up for the lack of nutrition, we snack. We're eating potato chips and pretzels and having a soda and whatever it is, because you're not reading the signal. The signal, the brain is telling you, give me more nutrition, not give me more calories. I hope everybody understands that. So with that in mind, 70% of the food she ended up getting didn't come from North America. It had come from other researchers that spent 20 years going around the world to Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, to find foods. The only criteria was huge amounts of nutrition in really small amounts of food. And some of the ingredients came from areas where people live to be 100 years old, called blue zones. So now they had the two food groups, right? They had 30% of the food from the grocery store that they picked out, and you'd get the list. And then the other, by the way, those nutrients you buy directly from those researchers. You don't buy anything from us. You don't buy anything from the researchers who created this. But those are the foods they used, right? Then the researchers said, all right, we can do something completely different. How about if we come up with a new way of consuming food called protein pacing? And what it meant was that they figured out that the timing of when we ate really mattered. Not something like this ridiculous time-restricted eating where you fast for 16 hours and you ate for 8. And all the proof on those, yes, you can lose weight on that diet. Everything you're losing on that, or the majority, I'm sorry, of the weight that you're losing on time-restricted eating is lean muscle mass. I've got a big study over here from the Journal of the American Medical Association. So I'm not just making some claim, all right? So what they did was 5 days a week, you'd have 4 meals a day. You'd start with these foods from around the world, nothing from the grocery store, lunch from the grocery store, dinner from the grocery store, and a 4th meal after dinner, these exotic foods from around the world. You got it? Called protein pacing, 5 days a week. What about the other 2 days? The other 2 days, and this will flip all of you out, listen carefully, you're going to do intermittent nutritional fasting, not water fasting, not time-restricted eating. On those days, no food from the grocery store, only these exotic foods around the world, but this time you're going to eat 8 times a day. We had diabetics, no diabetics on an insulin spike. People that weighed 300 pounds were not hungry. In a month, people's hunger had gone down 41%. They found that blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides all came down drastically in 30 days. Inflammation, the underlying cause of every disease out there, they measured for the first time ever, it came down 25%. See, the main reason to do this is not to lose weight. That's like, no. Really the number one reason to do it is something that we all now know that we didn't know. We all have this medical syndrome, which is a registered trademark U.S. patent office now, called TDOS. The T is for toxins or toxicity, the D for nutrition deficiency, O for being overweight, S is for stress. It's a registered trademark U.S. patent office. Peter Greenlaw. Oh my gosh, that's me. I did discover it. But that's not what's important. You need to understand. If you don't know this, you might want to know. We're drinking, we're breathing, we're eating chemicals. And as our body takes in those chemicals that we can't avoid, the body first presents them to the liver. Our livers can't handle it. The body has one last shot to protect us. It's trying to protect us. It takes the chemical and stuffs it inside your visceral fat. That's the fat around your organs, particularly around the abdomen area. Look at her stomach, everybody, on day 1. Look at her stomach on day 30. That's with no exercise, no sit-ups. I wish I could talk to each of you individually, but I don't want to convince you. I don't want to sell you. You know what I would tell you? Listen, don't believe Peter Greenlaw. But the website, you can see it right above our head, everybody in blue, the new health conversation. Does everybody see that? It's a free medical website where you can go and see the medical proof behind this. And you'll get to see, for example, the medical journals that this is published in. Do you all understand what a big deal it is to have a peer-reviewed human trial study in the biggest medical journals in the world? Nobody else has it. Well, nobody else 10. See, all the studies done on diets, the only thing they ever concentrated on is the amount of weight you lose. And those results are absolutely so pitiful. It's, let's see, I have that report somewhere here. Let me find it. Oh, here it is, sorry. When they looked at, these are the actual results of a bunch of medical studies. For example, they look at macro counting or just in general, calories in, calories out. Wow. And they said that these approaches deliver pitifully inadequate results. This is the summation of the studies, not my opinion. Listen to this. These approaches deliver pitifully inadequate results. A meager 4 to 10 pound loss in 3 to 6 months. Devastating, a 25 to 50% loss of lean muscle mass that cripples your metabolism, and which also then creates 10 to 20% weaker your immune. It's making you unhealthy. These diets are making you unhealthy for crap. Did you hear that? You're going to lose 4 to 10 pounds in 3 to 6 months. She lost 21 pounds in a month. They lost 25 to 50% of the muscle mass on these diets. What? What are you doing? Why? And so few people come on the free podcast to learn about this. Yeah, I lose 10 pounds just eating healthy with no exercise. I thought people knew about it. Well, no, but it's much more than that, because the other thing, Lee, with all due respect, you did nothing to remove toxins from your body. There's never been a diet, and this is not a diet, ever, that proves that this is removing herbicides and pesticides and Scotchgard and Teflon. Congratulations, by the way. I'm not saying you did anything bad, but it's not this. And the thing is also, you were really limited. I'm sure you bought, I don't think you went to Russia or Mongolia or Tibet, South America, New Zealand to find these foods in these blue zones, which have massive amounts of nutrition, that the best organic food in this country is no match. That's why they did 30% of the food for the United States organic, and the other 70% came from these far reaches of the world where they had massive amounts of nutrition. You can't match it in the United States. I'm not saying what you did isn't great. Thank you. Yeah, the inches lost are so awesome, people are saying, right. So Lee, the number one reason to do this is detoxification. The number two reason is to lower inflammation, because I will promise you what you did, there's never been a study showing that you could lower inflammation on any diet. So congratulations for what you did, but it's not the same as this. And look, Lee, it sounds like you're really interested in this kind of stuff. If you go to the website, I promise on my son's lives and my 4 grandkids, we're not going to contact you. So don't think there's some kind of sales pitch coming. We're researchers, okay? Our job is to make you aware. Our job is not to convince you or try and sell you. But I would hope you'd want to go and see real medical proof. And then if you did decide you're interested, you get a free coach and they'll answer any and all of your questions. It's not that what you did isn't good, but is it good enough? Because you're not removing any chemicals that you continue. Right now, we're breathing in the fumes from the coal-fired power plants in China from 2 weeks ago. They did a study 8 weeks ago, released, that we're now storing microplastics in our brain and in our coronary arteries. What you did has no impact on that at all. This is the first time in history they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis proving that this was removing the chemicals from the body. And you look at the shrinkage in her stomach with most women on this, they'll lose a whole dress size in a week. Men lose 2 to 4 inches off their waist. Because we're storing these chemicals in our fat cells. And even people that are thin think, oh, well, I don't have that problem. Yes, you do. They did a study of 300 really fit people. They did MRIs in the body and found around the brain, the breast tissue, prostate, kidney, liver, this white halo of this toxic fat. We're all storing chemicals inside of us. It's not my opinion. I mean, heck, the patent office granted me a registered trademark of this new medical condition. Syndrome. You know, this metabolic syndrome, the syndrome X, this is a new syndrome, but everybody in the world has it. And no diet touches the T in toxins. Doesn't. No, never been proven. So again, everybody, the key principle to this will sound relatively simple. The researchers' goal was, can we find food in general where we can give you less quantity of food but give you more nutrition? That was the underlying principle. And then if they could do that, then they could do a new way, allow you to eat a new way that was the most effective thing they'd ever seen in 40 years of research, which is the outcome you're looking at in here, right? Yeah, Lee. I mean, the cool thing is go look at the medical proof. That's the best thing I can tell you. We're not here to convince you. We're not here to sell you. We don't have time to do that. We're too busy coaching people because every person gets coached. As a matter of fact, then also what they get, this is what the researchers had developed for the patients who went through the studies, these medical trials. The yellows are daily videos from the researchers explaining to you why it's safe, why it's working, and why the main reason to do this is not to lose weight. That's like number 4 or 5 down the road. Do you realize that these pictures you're looking at here, she's sustained that now for 8 or 9 years? I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks. I've kept it off for 22 years. That's what should be important to everybody. Yeah, Lee. So please understand, we don't have time to convince you. But we feel like we've created something that the world desperately needs, because these podcasts of mine, they are going all over the world. I've only been doing this, I don't know, for maybe a year. And prior to that, well, prior to COVID, Lee, I'm not trying to brag, but I had done 1,500 live lectures in hospitals and universities and towns all around the United States, Canada, Mexico, and they even flew me to China. And COVID hit and that all stopped. So I didn't know what I was going to do. Thank God for, well, really TikTok and social media, so that I'm able to reach people. My job is to give you the knowledge, give you the information, and then let you decide based on that knowledge, which you don't have now, not because you're not smart, but you don't have access to it. Do you have access to these 10 peer-reviewed published medical studies in the biggest medical journals in the world? Of course not. But on the website, let me show you, Lee, and everybody else, just to show you, removing toxins. Okay, yeah, that's it. That's the main thing. But let me just show you real quick, Lee. So everybody, if you want to see the medical proof, and we won't call you, go to the New Health Conversation. Make sure it's the New Health Conversation. Click on Google. There's the website. There's nothing to buy on there, Lee. And you'll notice, number one, it's the exclusive podcast with the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world. And he'll walk you through why they'll never recommend any form of traditional diet again. And they don't sell anything. They don't have any products. They're scientists. But they spent 40 years of their life trying to crack the code for obesity and health, and they've done it. And they're now, their work has been proven, been absolutely vetted by the top medical journals. Medical journals. These aren't like scientific papers. These are medical journals. That's a big deal. So again, Lee, I hope you will go there for your benefit. If nothing else, I think you'll get a heck of an education. And who knows, maybe you'll want to, talk to a coach. You don't have to. There's no, we don't trick people. We don't say, oh, we'll go get a coach and then we'll show you the information. I see a lot of people on social media doing that kind of nonsense. Why would we need to do that, Lee, or anybody else? Why? We have the medical proof that nobody else has. Lee, are you familiar with anybody on social media that you've seen that has shown you one shred, a peer-reviewed human trial study on what they're claiming? If you do, it'll be the first one I've ever seen. They're nice people. They mean well. But you got to understand, Lee, everything we've been taught about diet, exercise, and nutrition is out the window. Because number one, we have this new enemy in our midst, and that's these chemicals that we're storing inside of us. I mean, whoever knew about Roundup or glyphosate? It didn't kill people until it did. Cigarette smoking didn't kill people until it did. These toxins are really something else that all of us need to be aware of. But what are you doing about it? Because no diet has ever produced a gram of toxin leaving the body. Imagine, everybody, she did no exercise and lost 38 inches. I mean, look at her hips and her stomach. You think that would ever happen on a diet with no exercise? And she's kept it off for 8 or 9 years? Wow, I see we have 1,300 likes. Come on, let's get some more taps on the screen if people like what they're seeing. I know we've got, so for the new people out there, let me explain again what this is. I guess I need to tell you what it's not. It's not a diet. It's not about counting calories. It has nothing to do with exercise. The guiding principle behind this was the people who invented it are considered and rated the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world. They'd done 100 studies over 40 years looking at every kind of diet and came to one conclusion. In 40 years, 100 studies, they never found one diet where people had to lose weight and keep it off in the long run, and 2/3 of the people gained more weight than they lost. So they said, we're done counting calories. We're done evaluating diets by counting calories. They said there has to be a better way. There has to be something here missing. What was missing was not calories. What was missing, this will sound too simple, it was simply nutrition. And the problem with a diet, when you reduce the quantity of the food you're consuming, because you're getting food, even if it's organic, from North America, it's already lacking in the nutrients that used to be there 100 years ago. But so if you eat your best food and you reduce the quantity of the food, you're reducing the quantity of the nutrition in food that's already compromised with the amount of nutrition. What do you think your brain does? It freaks out, goes in starvation mode, and immediately stops you accessing the fuel in your fat cell and turns to your muscles for fuel. That is so unbelievably unhealthy and inefficient. As you begin to lose lean muscle, your brain doesn't have a choice. It slows down your metabolism. I'm explaining to you now why you're all plateauing on these diets, or 2/3 of you are gaining more weight than you lost. So the other thing it does to you by losing lean muscle, it also slows down your own immune system. So you're literally making yourself unhealthy by going on a diet by counting calories, okay? So the researchers said, we got to do something totally different. A ban, they don't want you counting calories. This program, there's no counting calories. If you want to count calories, go for it, but it means nothing to your body. So they put together food groups, new food groups. 30% of the food she consumed came from the United States. It was organic. But they determined the foods, and more importantly, not the calorie counts, the serving sizes that you would get. Proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, and vegetables. No calorie counting. 30% of what you would eat comes from that list developed by these top researchers in the world. The other 70%, because we don't sell you anything, they don't sell you anything, there's no company involved. You buy directly from these other researchers who've gone around the world for 40 years, 20 years, and had found foods in Russia, Mongolia, Nepal, South America, New Zealand that represented huge amounts of nutrition. And some of the nutrients came from areas in the world where people living to be 100 years old. They're called blue zones. I kind of want to put that stuff in my body, right? So now they had the food groups, right? But only 30% from your grocery store organic. That may shock some of you, because our food in this country is becoming more and more nutritionally insufficient. So these other foods, and this is not supplements. So this isn't lotions, potions, pills. There's not some magic elixir at the end. There's nothing to buy from us. You're buying food. That's it. So then what they did, they took these two food groups and said, all right, based on this amount of nutrition, we can do something totally different. We're going to let people 5 days a week have 4 meals a day. See, they don't care about calories. It doesn't matter. You start with these foods from around the world. They call them the world's most perfect meals from a nutritional standpoint. That's your breakfast. Imagine on a diet, you're having 4 meals a day. You have this for breakfast, these exotic foods around the world, lunch from the grocery store list from your grocery store, dinner from the grocery store, and a 4th meal after dinner from these exotic foods from around the world. 5 days a week, 4 times a day. That's called protein pacing. And they actually got a registered trademark U.S. Patent Office for this new way of eating. Then 2 days a week, you do something called intermittent nutritional fasting, not fasting. On those days, not water fasting, no fasting. Fasting with nutrition. I know it sounds like a weird concept, but I'll explain to you why in a moment. No food from the grocery store, only these exotic foods around the world. But this time, you're going to eat 8 times a day. She was eating every hour and a half for 2 hours. So the diabetics on this, no one had insulin spikes. Number 2, people that weighed 300 pounds were not hungry. They were shocked, because hunger has nothing to do with calorie counting. Nothing, zero to do with calorie counting. As a matter of fact, do any of you even know what a calorie is? I didn't. I've had 9 people in a year give me the actual real medical definition of what's a calorie. You're counting calories. Why? Why would you be counting calories? You don't even know what they are, what they do. They do nothing. It's a measurement. Only thing that body cares about is nutrition. That's why we're alive. So what happens when we get hungry, you're running out of nutrition. So temporarily, maybe you go get potato chips or, whatever it might be. Temporarily, you have some energy. But that's not the nutrition that you need to run your organs. And so what they did, they found, I lose 10. Okay, so who else is interesting? Okay, remove toxins. Okay, so who else would like to ask me a question? Oh, sorry. So in 30 days, they measured hunger came down 41%. Blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides all came down dramatically in 30 days. With the diabetics, if you are a diabetic, listen to me carefully. The need for insulin, which is why you have medicine in the first place, right, It came down 41% in 30 days, and the diabetics monitored by their doctors, the doctors cut their meds by 50% across the board by doing this protocol. It's not a diet. It's a nutritional system developed with a nutritional technology, with a completely new way of consuming food. Now, the part I didn't even tell you, one of the most important aspects of this is maintenance. I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks, 23 years ago. I've kept it off for 23 years. That's what should interest you. That's what should excite you. That's what you should see as something that could really change. Because it doesn't do any good for you to lose weight and gain it all back, which is, these researchers, they saw that after 100 studies. Every person gained all their weight back, and 2/3 weighed more than when they started. So that's when they said, this is crazy. We're giving up calorie counting. There has to be a new way. Because, see, they don't have a company. They don't sell anything. They're scientists. But they were looking for the answer for obesity and health, and they found it. And my God, it's been recognized and published in 10 of the biggest medical journals in the world, not some scientific paper. Those aren't the same. That's not even in the same world with a peer-reviewed human trial study that take years. They cost a lot of money, but they're on human beings. They're not on monkeys or on mice or rats or monkeys or chimpanzees or chickens or whatever. No, they're on human beings. I would hope this would interest all of you. If it doesn't, okay, it's fine. But we give you a free website right there above our head in blue, the New Health Conversation. You all can go there and see the medical proof for yourself. And if you like what you see, free coaching. Guess how much the coaching is, everybody? Zero. People are charging you for coaching. You got to buy their app to get recipes to get a coach? Really? And they don't have one shred. They haven't ever held up one shred of medical evidence. None. Zero. And they got like 1 million followers. Congratulations to them. But what they're doing is, it's not going to work. It just isn't. So who else would like to ask me a question? Kristen, Charlie, and Gurpreet Singh, followed from the creator. Oh, that's good. So who else would like to ask me a question, okay? I see new people coming on all the time. I'm more than happy to. I finally figured out how to do this in the shortest time possible. But I want you to also see, before I explain it, I know the new people just came on. It's not just her. Look at this, everybody. How about 35 pounds in 37 days with no exercise? Look at how much her body shrank. Most women on this lose a whole dress size in a week. Most men lose 2 to 4 inches off their waist in a week with no exercise. I'm not kidding you. And then if you look at my friend's daughter, how about 60 pounds in 3 months, everybody? Look at her face, look at her arms, look at her stomach area. Most people tell me, oh, it's not the same woman. She changed her hair, and it's the same woman. Okay, it's the same woman. I don't know what to tell you. And then, people tell you when you get older, it's really hard to lose weight, right? Well, don't tell this gentleman that. He's like 65 years old. Sorry. He lost 40.8 pounds and 52 inches in 30 days. But look at his lab work. His A1C went from 8.4 to 6.4 in 30 days. His triglycerides from 242 to 124 in 30 days. Who's curious about this coming on? Who would like to know more? What do we do? I love it, Mello. I'm going to explain it to you in a moment, I promise. So let's come back to Kristen for a moment, because for all of you, this is probably more realistic. But imagine, so let me ask you a question, Mello, if you don't mind. How excited would you be if you could lose 20 pounds in a month? Because on any diet you're on now or thinking about doing, if you were going to lose 20 pounds, how long, honest to gosh, do you think you'd give yourself to lose 20 pounds? Please put it in the very, okay. All right, Mello. Now, I promise all of you I'm going to go as fast as I can, but this is not just some bunch of recipes or a meal plan or 10,000 steps. No. But you need to understand why you should be interested. First of all, it was developed by the top weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world who had done 100 studies over 40 years. In other words, they were hired to evaluate like keto or paleo or Mediterranean. They did massive tests like blood, stool, urine, fat, muscle analysis, liver enzymes for 40 years. They're the top people in the world. But they don't sell anything. There's no products here, first of all, so don't get alarmed that somehow there's going to be some elixir. No. So what they said was, we realized that the failing of all diets, because they said in 40 years, to give you an idea, Mellow, they never found a diet where people lost weight and kept it off long term. I just started watching. Okay, well, GURP, I'm explaining it right now, I promise. So you're not too late. I'm on keto right now. Well, you won't after I explain this to you, okay? So first of all, the key to life is three things, why we're alive: air, water, and nutrition. Now, for example, the problem with something like keto, well, let me read it first, and we'll get this out of the way. This is a big study in nutrients on keto diets, okay? This is not my opinion. This is from the studies. This is what you're up against. Exposure to keto diets is associated with big reductions in lean muscle mass and increased osteoporosis risk in obese individuals. So you're actually increasing your risk of osteoporosis, and you're absolutely, the only thing you're losing on a keto diet is your lean muscle mass. And study after study proves it. All diets, 25 to 40% of what you're losing is lean muscle mass. I'm sorry to tell you that, okay? So let's switch back to this. Why would this be so different? Here's why it's different. For example, we need carbohydrates. We absolutely do. But they got to be the right kind of carbohydrates. So the researchers said the fallacy of all diets is counting calories when the human body has no idea what a calorie is. The only thing your body can measure and count is nutrition. So when you're going on a diet, even like keto, you're reducing the carbohydrates, so you're reducing something. But your body needs carbohydrates to function, okay? So when the brain senses there's not enough of the broad spectrum of nutrition we need, it slows down your metabolism. Well, what it does first, it turns to your muscles for fuel. You're absolutely losing lean muscle right now, whether you know it or not. 25 to 40% of whatever you've lost or what you think you're going to lose is lean muscle. That's not my opinion, and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be honest and open. I'm a scientist, okay? So what the researchers said, that what that results, as you lose lean muscle, your brain doesn't have a choice. It slows down your metabolism. So if you haven't plateaued yet on the keto diet, you will. And 2/3 of people on keto gain back more weight than they lost, because all diets across the board, after 100 studies, 40 years, every 2/3 of people gain back more weight than they lost. Got it so far, Mello? Then what they said, in addition, when you lose lean muscle, it doesn't just slow down your metabolism, you're actually slowing down your own immune system. So you're literally making yourself unhealthy, whether it was keto or paleo, it doesn't matter. All the diets at the end of the day are about the same, and I'll prove that to you in a moment. So the researchers said the key has to be, is it possible that we, the researchers, will find foods where we can give you less quantity of the food, but find foods with high nutrition that have this broad spectrum of nutrition, including carbohydrates. So they put together a food list that you would get. You'd take it to your grocery store. Proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, and vegetables. But instead of calorie amounts, they'd give you serving sizes. So yes, they'd tell you how much carbs, but for example, you don't want a white potato, you want a sweet potato, you want like broccoli, you want like cauliflower, you want those things. You need carbs. This is insanity. This keto thing is a nonsense. I know I see people they got 10 million followers and they're promoting keto. One damn shred of medical evidence. I just showed you the medical evidence. Keto, increase your risk of osteoporosis. Let's do that. Now, I do get very animated, so don't think I'm mad. I'm motivated, okay? Because it really makes me mad when I see things like that, right? So 30% of the food you would consume, you'd buy at the grocery store, you have a grocery store list. But here's what you can't duplicate with keto or anything else. The other 70% of the food didn't come from these researchers. It came from these other researchers who spent 20 years going around the world to Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, to find foods with huge amounts of nutrition, including carbohydrates, okay? And low quantities of food. So now they had the two food groups. Now, wait till you hear this. Then, based on those food groups, they created new ways of consuming the food, which was everything. As a matter of fact, to give you an idea, they actually got a registered trademark of this new way of eating called protein pacing. They tried to do this with regular food, organic, and it wouldn't work. So they needed these extra nutrients from around the world to balance this out, because she was starting the day with these nutrients from around the world. They didn't care about the quantity. They gave you the quantity. Okay? Lunch from the grocery store, they gave you the quantity, not the calories. Dinner from the grocery store, they gave you the quantity, not the calories. And a fourth meal after dinner. What do you mean you're eating 4 meals? I never heard of anything like that. Exactly. Because see, you're focused even on a carb diet. It's still about calories. It's all nonsense, 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 nonsense. Till now. They then 2 days a week, now this will blow your mind. It's not something you could ever do on a keto diet. 2 days a week, she did something called intermittent nutritional fasting, not water fasting, not time restricting. On those days, no food from the grocery store. Only these exotic foods around the world. But this time she ate 8 times a day. You heard me, 8 times a day, every hour and a half. You think you could do that on a keto diet? Good luck. Or any diet. I'm not just picking on keto. It doesn't matter what the diet is. None of them, 40 years, 100 studies of every diet. They never found one that worked long term. I'm guaranteeing you're losing weight initially. But 2/3 of people that do it are going to gain all their weight back. So diabetics on this, there were no insulin spikes. People that weighed 300 pounds were not hungry. You know, on that diet, you're hungry. Don't tell me you're not hungry. You're hungry. You're using your willpower. But the reason you're hungry is your brain is warning you and telling you don't have enough nutrition. That's why you're hungry. It's giving you a warning sign. I'm going to do bad things to the body to survive. I'm going to use your muscle for fuel. I'm going to slow down your metabolism and slow down your own immune system. Really? Is that what you want to do? I'm talking to the body now. I know I'm crazy, and I am crazy. Now, but let me tell you the results. Hunger went down 41% in a month. We had people weighed 500 pounds. They weren't hungry. It had nothing to do with calories. It had nothing to do with anything. The second thing that happened is that blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides all plummeted in a month. Diabetics, the need for insulin came down 41% in a month. And here's what separates us from keto and everything else. Every one of us are suffering from this new medical syndrome called TDOS. The T is for toxins, the D is for nutritional deficiency, the O is for being overweight, and the S is for stress. It's a registered trademark U.S. Patent Office. So there's metabolic syndrome, there's syndrome X, and now there's TDOS syndrome that every person in the world has. Oh, Peter Greenlaw, who's that? Oh, I guess that's me. I discovered it. But you have to understand, you, me, we're all ingesting these chemicals. And what's your body doing to protect us? Me, you, everybody. It's taking the chemical and stuffing it in our what's called our visceral fat. That's the fat around the organs. My God, look at her stomach on day 1. Look at her stomach on day 30 with no exercise at all. You think you'd do that on any diet? Most women lose a whole dress size in a week, Mellow, in a week. Men lose 2 to 4 inches off their waist in a week with no exercise. Why didn't they let them exercise? Because they didn't want exercise to be an outlier. Otherwise, you would have said, well, they lost weight because it was diet and exercise. And of course, you can exercise on this. And Mellow, right above her head in blue, it's a free medical website. There's nothing on there to buy. If you went to the website, Mellow, we won't contact you. What's on there? Only the medical proof about what I'm sharing with you. And then you see free coaching. How much is the coaching, everybody? 0. If you like what you see, any of you, scroll down and you get a free coach. Because you can't do this on your own. I mean, we were taught, all right? Because it's not just, oh, here's your food list. It's like, okay, when do I eat? What do I eat? What are the quantities? Now, keep in mind, as far as the intense program we're talking about here, where you do 5 days a week, 4 meals, and 2 days you do intermittent nutritional fasting, that's only until you lose the weight. You know what one of the greatest attributes of this? Maintenance. Like in my case, Mellow, I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks, 23 years ago. I've kept it off for 23 years. This picture is 8 or 9 years old. She's kept it off for 8 or 9 years. So maintenance is really one of the critical things. But detox, now how did we know we were detoxing? Because the researchers did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis and proved that this protocol was removing chemicals from the body. And as you pull the chemical out of the fat cells shrank. Look at her stomach. You can think, all of you can think it's photoshopped. It's not photoshopped. That is real. Does that make sense? Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way, Mellow. I don't want you to get mad at me, Mellow. I'm not trying to discredit what you're doing. And if you want to continue doing keto, God bless you. But I'm telling you, the medical evidence says whatever diet, I don't care if it's keto, paleo, time-restricted eating, water fasting, Cornish, Zone, Atkins, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, these researchers that developed it were paid for 40 years. They did 100 studies, thousands of people, and they never found a diet where anyone ever kept the weight off long term, and 2/3 of the people gained more than they lost. Listen, Mellow, we're losing the battle. We're losing the battle. Do you understand, all of you, that obesity in 1990, 35 years later in 2025, obesity rates have doubled. And a shocking study, I have it right here. Wait till you all hear this. Study predicts obesity apocalypse. This is Johns Hopkins Medical School. Study predicts obesity apocalypse by 2030. We estimate, Johns Hopkins, 86% of Americans will be overweight or obese by 2030. By 2048, we estimate all American adults will become overweight or obese. They can't stop it. Do you understand? It's an epidemic. They can't stop it. They're like fighting a raging forest fire with a garden hose. How's that turning out? You saw the tragedy in California, in Pacific Palisades. They didn't have enough water, for crying out loud. I mean, that's another story, but I'm just saying, this problem is, and it's worldwide. 2.5 billion people worldwide out of 8 billion are overweight, and 1 billion are considered clinically obese today. You think the healthcare system is going to be able to deal with this? Listen, that's why the new health conversation is a movement. You don't have to join it. You don't have to join if you don't want. And there's no membership fee or anything. But what we would encourage you to do is come on, try it, see what happens. Oh, I didn't even tell you the best part, everybody. So 30% of the food you're buying from the grocery store and 70% you're buying from, because people say, how much is it? Basically, you're probably going to spend about what you spent last month, your total food bill, maybe another $25 a week, maybe $100 more a month for this. But the thing is, those foods from around the world, those researchers, they're so confident this is going to work. They'll give you all your money back in 30 days, no questions asked. Mello, try and do that with keto or anything else. 100% money back guarantee. Now, not the food from the grocery store. Obviously, you'd have to negotiate with them. But because we don't sell you anything. We don't have any products. There is no product. It's food. Mello, is that cool? Does that sound interesting? No, I'm not. Mello, please understand, I'm not in any way disparaging what you're trying to do. You want to be healthy. You want to lose weight. I'm sure you want to lose weight. I'm just curious, if you don't mind, how much weight would you like to lose? Understand, everybody, this is one-on-one with me, and I'm not trying to be, do you get to do that with other people? Because, okay, even if you do, what do they have for proof? Their opinions? You're gonna trust your health and your life to opinions? Really? Good luck with that. 20 pounds. Easily, Mello, easily in a month. Easily in a month. Tell me how excited you would be. How about in the first 4 days, you're probably going to lose 5 to 7 pounds just in the first 4 days. How much would that motivate you, Mello? Please tell me. Yes, Mello. I hate mispronouncing people's names. I'm a stickler for that. Very excited. And did you hear what I said, Mello? 70% of what you're going to spend, 100% money back guarantee. How's that sound? Too good to be true? And free coaching? But Mello, I want you to understand, this is what I'm going to tell everybody to do if you want. All of you, go to the New Health Conversation. It's got to be the new, by the way, the New Health Conversation. Click on the link. And there's the site. There's nothing to buy there, but I'll tell you what is there. Number one is an exclusive podcast with the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world. And he'll explain to you why they, as the top weight loss researchers in the world, they'll never recommend traditional diets ever again. They said it would be unethical. Because Mello, imagine knowing things like, keto diet increases your risk of osteoporosis. Really? Doesn't sound too good to me. But it's not just the keto. It's every diet. None of them ever worked. In 40 years, they never found a diet that people were ever to keep the weight off long term. And that's what all these studies, and I don't know if you were on Mello when I read this it's called a landmark study, meta-analysis by Tracy Mann and colleagues published in the American Psychologist. Tracy Mann is considered one of the top weight loss researchers in the world for more than 25 years. Here's what she said. In the published studies in the American Psychologist, we revealed that 31 long-term studies we analyzed on calorie-restricted diets and exposed the harsh truth. The analysis, listen to what they said about diets. The analysis concluded that dieting itself predicts future weight gain. What are you all doing? Listen, another big study, why you shouldn't count calories. Please pay attention. While counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. What's even worse, 2/3 of people who try to counter restrict calories gain back more weight than they lost. Now listen to this. Counting calories increases chronic psychological stress and cortisol production, two factors that are known to cause weight gain. Again, they're telling you these diets are causing you to gain weight. That's what they said in that UCLA study. Here's what she said. In the analysis concluded that dieting itself predicts future weight gain. What are we doing? Is it just me that I'm crazy? Maybe I am. But my God, we're bringing you the medical proof. We're handing it to you. You can see it for free. And you don't buy anything from us. You're buying food and learning a new way to eat. And then being able to go on maintenance and keep it off for the rest of your life. I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks 23 years ago. I've kept it off for 23 years. So who else would like to ask me a question? Or not? I'm not scary. But for the new people on here, okay, I know you're probably everybody's impatient. So I'm going to explain one more time and probably several more times. How did this come about? Well, it was invented by the top weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world who had done 100 studies over 40 years. And in 40 years, they never found a diet, calories in, calories out, any name of diet you named, that wherever people lost weight and kept it off. So they said the primary thing about diets is counting calories is completely ludicrous and ridiculous because the human body has no idea what a calorie is. Maybe you know. I'd love for anybody to give me the definition of a calorie. In a year's time, I've had 9 people been able to give me the technical definition of a calorie. You're all counting calories. It seems pretty silly to me that you're counting something you don't even know what it is or what it does, because it does nothing for your body. A calorie doesn't do anything to support your overall health. The only thing that can support your body, there's 3 things that keep you alive: air, breathing, water, and nutrition. The researchers said, okay, we're going to do something different. Here's the simplest way to explain it to you all. Their goal was they were going to find foods where the number one criteria was the amount of nutrition. But the idea was, could they find foods where they could give you less food by quantity, but give you more nutrition? So they put together a grocery list that you all would get, that she used. And 30% of the food, only 30% of what she ate in a month came from the grocery store, all organic, and you have a list of proteins, fats, carbohydrates, fruits, and vegetables. But instead of giving you calorie counts, they give you serving sizes. They want you to abandon calorie counting forever. Forget it, okay? Forget calorie counting. 30% of the food. The other 70% of the food, where did it come from? Not from the United States. It came from other researchers who've literally gone around the world to places like Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand, and they brought back foods with huge amounts of nutrition, but small quantities of food, and no herbicides and no pesticides, right? So now they had the 2 food groups that they were going to use. But that allowed them, because these foods were based only on the nutritional density, how much nutrition they had. So they were able to do something they'd never done before in any diet. 5 days a week, she was able to eat 4 times a day, 4 meals a day. She started with these exotic foods around the world for breakfast, lunch from the grocery store, dinner from the grocery store, and a 4th meal after dinner from these exotic foods around the world. That's called protein pacing. And they got a registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office, for this new way of eating. That's what a big deal this is, right? Now remember, these are the top weight loss researchers in the world. They had 40 years of studies, and they knew what worked and what didn't. And this was a theory when they started. So 5 days a week, 4 times a day eating. 2 days a week, you do something called intermittent nutritional fasting. Not fasting, not water fasting, not time-restricted eating fasting. This was a new complete concept. No food from the grocery store on those 2 days a week, period. Only these foods from around the world, but this time she ate 8 times a day. What? Yeah, she was eating every hour and a half to 2 hours. Diabetics, no one had insulin spikes. People that weigh 300 pounds, we're not hungry. If one thing I can get across to you is this: you're not hungry for calories. Your body has no idea what a calorie is. The key to life is this: as long as you have enough nutrition, which the brain uses to run all of our organs, not calories, it uses nutrition for the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, etc. So as long as you have a minimum amount, although the researchers went beyond that, they knew there was a minimum amount. Because see, if you drop below a minimum amount of nutrition, what happens on a diet, you reduce the food, you reduce the nutrition, it triggers starvation in the brain. Guess what the brain does to survive? It stops using the fuel in our fat cell, and turns to our muscles for fuel, slowing down. Well, 25 to 40% of what you're going to lose on any diet, according to all the experts now, is your lean muscle mass. It's not up for debate. That's what's going on. When that happens, not only do you slow your metabolism down, that's why you plateau. Maybe now you know why you're plateauing. But secondly, you also limit your own immune system. So you're making yourself unhealthy by going on a diet, by having anything to do with counting calories, okay? So in a month's time, hunger went down 41% for her and everybody else. Blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides all plummeted. And for the first time ever, this is really important. The number one reason to do this is not to lose weight. It's to combat this syndrome, which every one of us have. It's a registered trademark U.S. Patent Office called TDOS. The T is for toxins, the D is for nutritional deficiency, the O is for being overweight, the S is for stress. And there's no books to buy, by the way, on my site. Oh, Peter Greenlaw, that is me. I did discover this. What it means is that we're drinking, we're breathing, we're eating chemicals. And your body, to protect you, first presents it to the liver. The liver can't handle it. Then the body has no choice. It takes the chemical and stuffs it in your fat cell. That's why you all complain, not just about if you have 20 pounds or 30 or 50 pounds. It's the amount of fat you have in your body. So a couple things to clear up. Let's get rid of one big myth. There's no such thing as burning fat. No diet burns fat, no exercise program burns fat. You're born with a certain number of fat cells, you die with a certain number of fat cells, and in between, your fat cells can expand or contract. That's it. Well, on this, they prove that this is removing herbicides, pesticides, Scotchgard, Teflon from the body. Look at her stomach on day 1. Look at her stomach on day 30. This is not absolutely... Oh, okay, Mello, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And yeah, go to the website. And you do have the website, you know, Mello, it's right there in blue, the New Health Conversation. I just want to make sure. No, Nicole, is not. Oh my God, it's the worst thing you could ever do is skipping breakfast. Please expand on that for me. Are you on this stupid time-restricted eating? Please explain to me. Are you fasting 16 and 8, so you stop eating at 8 and eat noon noon the next day? Let me know, because I'm going to show you the medical proof why, number one, that's total nonsense. I will give you the medical proof. I will not give you an opinion. So, Nicole, please fill me in. Yes, Mello, it is food you buy. Yes, exactly. Whoops, I kicked the camera. I'm sorry. So, Nicole, I'm just very curious. I want to know, is it time-restricted eating? I went to an ED from calorie counting. I'm doing better now. I went into ED. I don't know what ED is. Can you tell me what it is? I went into ED from calorie counting. I'm doing better now. I'm not sure what ED even means. Nicole, how much weight are you trying to lose? Let's just start with that, okay? I went into ED. I don't know what that is. Nicole, this is live with me. I'm considered to be, well, I've written 4 best-selling books. I'm the top medical doctors in the world, and I've done over 1,500 lectures, 20 shows on PBS, and I got a little bit of experience. After 23 years, I hope I would. But I'm not sure ED for calorie counting, doing better now. So a minimum, Nicole, how much are you trying to lose still? I'm just waiting for you to respond so I can answer. We have lots of people on here now. That's really good. And we have 1,500 likes. If we can get some more people, tap on that screen. If you like the content. If you don't like the content, don't tap on the screen. Nicole, the one thing I want to explain to you is this is not a diet. You have to understand that whatever you're doing, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but what you're doing, unless it's published in a peer-reviewed human trial study, it's just hearsay. Even though the number on the scale might be moving, you might be losing, I'm telling you, 25 to 40% of the weight you're losing is lean muscle mass, and you're doing nothing to detoxify your body. The main reason to do this is detoxification. It's not about the weight loss. But look at her stomach, everybody, from day 1 to day 30. I also should tell you how simple maintenance is on this. Maintenance is breakfast every morning, these exotic foods, a lunch and dinner. You don't do 4 meals anymore, although you could if you want, but you don't need to. And then once every couple months, maybe do another 48-hour intermittent nutritional fast to help to detoxify your body. So the number one reason to do this detoxification, the number 2 reason is maintenance. Like I said, she's been able to keep the weight off now for almost 9 years. I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks 23 years ago. Okay, Victoria, is fasting bad? If I worked out every day, I worked about. You are, Victoria, you're only losing lean muscle mass. Absolutely. It's the worst thing you could ever do is any type of, this is not fasting. So let me explain it to you, Victoria. It's intermittent nutritional fasting. And the only reason that they can do it, they didn't use foods from the United States because there's just not enough nutrition. If you give your body such tiny quantities of food, and you don't have enough nutrition, you're going to burn your lean muscle. It's not up for debate, Victoria. And then if you're exercising on top of it, that's even worse. Because think about it, you're asking your body to put out more energy or more effort, right, with less fuel. Well, that'll trigger starvation in your brain every single time. Now, so again, Victoria, just to help me, how much weight are you trying to lose? But you're absolutely losing lean muscle. There's no question about it. What if I have an ED and ate in a calorie deficit a long time? It became my maintenance. What if I had an ED? I'm just not sure what ED is. Oh, eating disorder. Oh, I get it. I'm sorry. I didn't understand that. How do you know how much to eat in a day? Because we give you the serving sizes that the research has figured out for you. There's no guesswork. These are the top weight loss, they 40 years of research, 100 studied thousands of people on everything you're talking about here. Calorie restriction, fasting, etc. Look, all of you, you can go and see the medical proof from the top people in the world. So IFE 07, there's no guesswork. As a matter of fact, all of you even get, this is what they use on the patients in the studies. This is daily videos telling you exactly how much to eat, when to eat. There's no guesswork. It's all the coaching is free. And you're only buying food, 30% from your grocery store and 70% from these exotic foods from around the world that you can't buy in your local grocery store. And Victoria, so okay, 30 pounds. Well, Victoria, let me ask you this. How excited would you be about losing 5 pounds a week? 30 pounds, Victoria? Maximum, Victoria. Maximum 2 months. Maximum. That would be without exercise. Now, on this, you can exercise. Why? Because you have these massive amounts of nutrition. So, yes, you could exercise on this, even though you're doing intermittent nutritional fasting. The thing is, on that 48 hours, we'd probably want you to exercise a little bit less and a little intensely on those 2 days because it takes tremendous amount of energy for your body to detox. Does that make sense? Oh, Lita. Young woman. Oh my God. We have all kinds of people with no gallbladders, Lita. Let me give you one story, Lita. Oh, this is so much fun. You guys are wonderful because we have real interaction. A young woman in Florida, Lita, or anybody else can guess, okay? Laura, same thing. I also discovered my liver is enlarged 3 months ago. Again. Okay, so Lisa, okay, all of you. So I want everybody to guess, and then I'll tell you exactly what I think you can do with the gallbladder. Young woman in Florida. She's 5 feet tall. She's 30 years old, 265 pounds. Got that, everybody? In 6 months, with no gallbladder, Lita or anybody else, how much weight do you think she lost? Now, granted, she's 30, she's 5 feet tall, 265 pounds. Who would, please, somebody give me a guess. Victoria or any of you. Okay. How about if I'm 215, 5'6", and 35? How many calories should I? Forget calorie counting altogether. It's total nonsense. That's what the researchers proved. Because here's the problem, Iffy. What's a calorie? Iffy, can you tell me what a calorie is? Because if you find out what a calorie is, you're going to understand that counting calories is the dumbest thing we ever did in our lifetime. I mean, listen, I've got people right here. Let me tell you, Iffy. Harvard Medical School, stop counting calories. Here's what they said. We've been taught that this is Harvard Medical School. Stop being taught that losing weight is a matter of simple math. Cut calories 3,500, you lose a pound. But as it turned out, experts are learning that this decades-old strategy is totally misguided. The idea of a calorie in, calorie out, when it comes to weight loss, is not only antiquated, it's just wrong, says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist, Harvard Medical School. Drop the calories notion, Stanford said it's time to concentrate what's in our food, not how much food we're consuming. Drop the notion of calories. No, stop it. That's not the only study, okay? Laura said 60 pounds. No, Victoria, it's not energy, okay, but that's okay. All right, Laura, your guess was 60 pounds. Anybody else want to guess? Iffy, that's what we teach you. Free. You get a free coach. They're going to do exactly what they did in the studies. No one was allowed to count. They weren't allowed to count calories. They got serving sizes, so nothing for you to figure out. It's all handed to you. We were coached. You think I knew how to do this? Not a clue. After my turn, no, the doctor told me I would never be able to lose weight, only gain. Lita, we have people with no thyroids, let alone no gallbladders. But Lita, here's the other thing about this. Okay, listen to me, everybody, right? I would like to lose 77 pounds. Okay, so first of all, can any of you imagine, how do you feel about sugar-free and protein-enriched foods? Nonsense. Nonsense, Victoria. Nonsense. It's marketing hype. You could, please understand, everybody. I didn't do the research. It's not my research. But do you all understand the significance of peer-reviewed human trial studies? This work is published, recognized in the 10 biggest medical journals in the world. They're calling it a weight loss miracle. It has nothing to do with counting calories. It has nothing to do with exercise. Not that you can't exercise, Victoria. But let me ask you this, Victoria. In the first 4 days, you'll probably lose 6 to 8 pounds. Tell me how excited you'd be about that. Or Lita, or Victor, any of you. Lita, don't leave, because here's what they're telling you, and they're right. If you tried to lose weight on a diet, yeah, you probably, but they're not, they're full of it. They don't know. With all due respect, I wrote 4 best-selling books, some of the top medical doctors in the world. I taught them, for example, about toxins. They didn't know a damn thing about it. They're still telling people calories in, calories out. That doesn't work. You all have a chance to change your lives. And Victoria, I'm not being mean, but no, that's not the definition of a calorie. And sugar-free is nonsense. I never dieted and lost 43 pounds. Just go back to my life. Melissa, how long did it take you to lose 43 pounds? And Melissa, with all due respect, you did nothing to remove chemicals from your body, which we're all storing in our body. It's not up for debate. We know we're storing herbicides and pesticides and Scotchgard and Teflon. My God, they had a study 8 weeks ago where they're finding microplastics in our brain and in our coronary arteries. So congratulations on the 43 pounds of weight. I will promise you this, that 25 to 40% of that was your lean muscle mass. And never in history have they ever found a diet where people ever kept the weight off long term. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news. That's the reality. Congratulations, you did great. How do we detox? Okay, well, I'm going to explain it to that in a moment, okay? So, Lita, are you with me now? How do I participate? Okay, so I'm going to explain to all of you, and please, just Iffy and everybody, please pay attention. You don't have to. I'm not your boss. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I'm not bossing people around. So the origins of this started, well, it was figured out after 40 years, 100 studies of every diet out there, from paleo to keto to water fasting, you name it. Didn't matter what the diet was. Macros, which is total nonsense also, by the way. Do you know that the average weight loss on any of these diets, are you all familiar with this, is 4 to 10 pounds in 3 to 6 months? She lost 20 pounds in a month as your starting point. But it's not a diet, it's a detox first, and we're going to talk about why that is. So first, you all need to understand that last night when you all went to sleep, as long as you didn't eat too late, when you go to sleep, your body slows down your digestion. When that happens, the body automatically detoxes every night. It's a process that's called autophagy, when the body gets rid of the dead cells. And you want to get rid of those dead cells because if they hang around, they can mutate and turn into cancer, for example. So the researchers knew that one of the keys would be, if we're going to turn on that same mechanism, could we give the body nutrition, but not really food that it had to digest, okay? So they started out and they said, there's some principles here that we need to address. Number one, we're not going to have anybody count calories ever again. They did 40 years of that. They never found a diet, calories in, calories out, that ever work long term. Long term, everybody, right? So what they did, they put a food list together for all of you. Now, why this is going to be important, I'm going to explain to you about how you detox. They picked only 30% of the food she consumed or you would consume. You'd get a grocery list. Everybody understand that? Nothing to do with calories. Someone's asking me, how many calories do I eat in a day? I don't give a damn about the calories. Forget it. Because none of you even know what a calorie is. Why are you counting them? Okay, so they picked proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, and vegetables. The one criteria was the foods they were picking had to have high levels of nutrition. And they put that together for you, and you get serving sizes, not calories. Does everybody understand that? Only 30%. The other 70%, and here's what made it work and why it was a detox. They found other foods that came from around the world, from Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, that represented huge amounts of nutrition, but in very small amounts of food. And for example, the people in blue zones that live to be 100 years old, a lot of the times they have the food as a soup or as a tea, or the ingredient independently, right? So the theory was they now had this massive amount of nutrition from around the world coupled with food from the United States. Notice it was only 30% for the United States because our food in the United States is so nutritionally almost bankrupt, right? Then they invented the process that allowed them to detox. So 5 days a week was really the preparation to begin detox, and that's called protein pacing. And what they did on those days, they had 30% of the food from the grocery store they were going to select from, and the other 70% from these foods around the world. So breakfast was these world's most perfect meals from a nutritional standpoint of view. That's what the researchers call them. Lunch from the grocery store, dinner from the grocery store, and a fourth meal after dinner, these exotic foods around the world. Now, the reason this is so important is there was so much nutrition in these foods around the world that the body couldn't use it all. So what it did, it stored part of it. It's called nutritional partitioning, a new term, I'm sure, for all of you. Remember, this is revolutionary. This is a breakthrough. This is a nutritional system, a nutritional technology. This isn't lotions, potions, powders, pills, supplements. Nothing works like that. So what happened is 2 days a week, this is where the detox came in. They did something called intermittent nutritional fasting. Not fasting, not water fasting, not time-restricted eating. On those days, what they did, they consumed these nutrients from around the world, and she was eating those 8 times a day. But in addition, she had access, or the body had access to these stored nutrients. And the body brought them over, but they already were digested. So basically, they involved almost no interaction with digestion because the foods they were getting from around the world were in tiny quantities of food, but huge amounts of nutrition. Does that make sense? Well, rather than just speculating, the researchers did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis and proved that this was assisting the body. It was creating autophagy when you were awake. Does that make sense now? So 5 days a week, you're doing 4 meals a day, and 2 days a week, you're doing intermittent nutritional fasting until you get to your goal. But the number one reason to do this is detox. It's not to lose weight. The weight loss is a sort of this bonus, like almost a booby prize thrown in. So no diet you're on, whether you lost 40 pounds, I don't care what it is. There's not one shred of evidence any diet has removed even a gram of a toxin from the body. And you do that until you get your goal. Then you do maintenance. It's simple. Every morning, why wouldn't you put the world's most perfect meal in your body every single day in the morning? You eat 2 regular meals, and then every at least couple months, do another 48-hour to keep detoxing your body because the toxins aren't going on vacation. Does this make sense to all of you? So Victoria, does that make sense? Lita, does that make sense? Roman, does that make sense? Carla, 2 days back-to-back. No, not intermittent fasting. You didn't hear me, Victoria. Intermittent nutritional fasting. Intermittent fasting is a bust. It doesn't work. Let me give you the medical proof. Over here, this intermittent fasting where you don't eat for 16, eat for 8. Don't believe me. Here's the Journal of the American Medical Association. They did a 3-month study. Here's what they said. Our research found that overweight adults who were assigned to routinely fast 16 hours daily, eating their meals between noon and 8 the next day, popularly known as the 16-8 diet, gained almost no benefit from it. And over the course of 3 months, they lost an average of 2 to 3.5 pounds, and most of the weight they shed was lean muscle mass. One of the most unhealthy things you could ever do to yourself is time-restricted eating. Not my opinion, everybody. They did another study in the Annals of Internal Medicine. A 3-month study again. One group of people just lowered calories. The other group of people did this time-restricted eating, where they tell you, well, it's nothing about how much you eat. Really? Listen to what they said in this study. In our research, after 12 weeks, those people who did time-restricted eating lost 4.6 pounds, and those who simply lowered calories lost 6 pounds. And they went on to say, any suggestion that time-restricted eating benefits or results were anything other than calorie reduction is completely false. There you go. See, we don't fool around. We give you medical proof. That's why we stay out of trouble with the censors in community guidelines and TikTok. We're not messing around here. You can believe, but see, the thing is you're going on people's opinions. Where are the medical facts? The medical facts say, would you go 3 months on time-restricted eating to lose 2 to 4, 6 pounds, and most of it's lean muscle mass? Do you see how crazy the world is now? What we're believing, what we're falling into, what we're falling trapped to? This is going to change the world. This will change everything. Victoria, does that make sense? Do you understand the difference now between intermittent nutritional fasting and intermittent fasting, which is time-restricted eating? Does that make sense? Or Carla, or any of you? I know I get really animated, everybody. I'm not mad. I'm excited for all of you. And we've given you a gift right above her head in blue, the New Health Conversation. It's free for you to go there. There's nothing to buy. Something else I should share with all of you. In the June 9th issue of Women's World magazine, the #1 women's magazine in the world, the two women you see here, I coached both of them. The daughter's a nurse, 57 years old, 50 pounds in 3 months. The mom, who's 80, lost 90 pounds in about 10 or 11 months. They both have kept it off now for 3 years. At 80 years old, 90 pounds. Hello? She couldn't climb up a flight of stairs when she started this. Now she's playing pickleball 3 times a day. She's walking 4 or 5 miles a day. She's swimming. She just joined a gym this week. This is changing people. Look at the title, Over 50 Protein Miracle. That's Women's World saying that. That's not the researchers. It's not my research. I didn't invent this, and there's no products. I mean, how could you not at least go and take a look at the website? It's free. Here's the website, everybody. You would simply go to Google, type in the New Health Conversation. You'll see it there in a moment, the New Health Conversation. It'll come up in Google. There's the link. Click on the New Health Conversation, and there's the website, including the story about those 2 women on the cover of Women's World. But the most important thing, they're #1, an exclusive podcast with the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world. What do you hear what he says? He'll never recommend any form of traditional diet ever again, ever. They said it would be unethical. They said, we proved you can lose as much weight in a week as 8 weeks of any diet. And on this, women lose a whole dress size in a week. Did you hear me? Ladies, you can lose a whole dress size in a week with no exercise. I know this sounds like science fiction. I didn't even tell all of you the best part. So 30% of the food on this you buy from the grocery store. The other 70% that you're buying from those researchers, they'll give you 100% of your money back in the first 30 days if it doesn't work. See, we don't sell you anything. The researchers don't sell you anything. And nothing's 100%, of course. It doesn't mean nobody ever asked for a refund. But you think they could afford to do that if it didn't work? And you're on the cover of you think they put you on the cover of the #1 women's magazine in the world if this didn't work? Nothing's 100%, of course. But I'd love some more input from any of you. Oh, okay. Well, if you don't mind, all of you, if I might, Melissa Black. And so, Melissa, please don't get mad at me. I'm just telling you the facts. See, Melissa, that's what I love about science. It has no emotions, unlike me. It doesn't have any opinions. It doesn't have a prejudice. It just is. And when I'm telling you that the science says that of the 43 pounds you lost, 10 to 16 of those pounds is your lean muscle mass. Sorry to tell you that. That's it. And I hope I'm wrong, but so far, 2/3 of everybody on every diet has gained back more weight than they've lost, because the primary thing you're losing, or a big part of what you're losing, is lean muscle mass. Whether you believe it or not, I believe the science is a science, and that's what it says. And when we've got people like this Tracy Mann, she's considered one of the top weight loss researchers in the world for more than 30 years now. And this big study, it says a landmark UCLA meta-analysis by Tracy Mann and colleagues published in American Psychologist reviewed 31 long-term studies on calorie-restricted diets and exposed the harsh truth. The analysis of all 31 diets, wait till you hear what they said. The analysis concluded that dieting itself predicts future weight gain. So what they're telling you is, if you go on a diet, any type of diet, lowering calories or lowering the food, like in the case of keto, you don't have enough carbohydrates, you're going to gain all the weight back. Now, again, it'd be different if I was giving my opinion on that. It's different, and we even got people like, Harvard Medical School stopped counting calories. But here's a big one for everybody. This is Medicare. Listen, Lisa and everybody, to what Medicare is saying. Medicare's search for effective obesity treatments. Diets are not the answer. Our researchers at Medicare reviewed review of many long-term long-term outcomes of calorie-restricted diets to assess whether dieting is an effective treatment for obesity. The study showed that 2/3 of dieters regained more weight than they lost on any diet. In summary, there's little support for the notion that diets lead to lasting weight loss or health benefits. Believe whatever you want to believe. This is the medical proof that when Medicare is telling you that diets don't work, maybe you have an incredible gift. If you're on this podcast today, nothing to do with me. It's not my research. It doesn't matter what you think about me. The science is the science. That's what makes us unique. Can anybody tell me anybody else on social media who has peer-reviewed human trial studies that can show you one shred of medical evidence? Lita, okay, so, oh, Victoria, yeah, I'm very passionate about it for all of you. Oh, I was going to share with you, if you don't mind, why am I so darn passionate about this? Why am I so crazy? Well, I have a pretty incredible personal story. My own mother was morbidly obese my whole life. I never knew her thin. I never knew her I never knew her thin or healthy. Her name was Grace, and I loved her. She was awesome. And 24, almost 25 years ago, she called me up one day before I was a researcher, and she said, Peter, I have one really big wish in my life. I said, Mom, what's that? She said, I would give anything to spend one day thin. I said, wow, Mom, that's really cool. Well, 6 months later, massive heart attack and stroke. My mom did about every damn diet, knows my language, every damn diet on the planet. I saw her do the grapefruit diet and the cabbage diet, OptiFast. She followed Oprah. She did Weight Watchers. She did, you know, I mean, she must have done 100 different diets. I'd lose 20 pounds, gain 25 back. And at the end, even when she was telling me she'd like to spend one day, remember, she just said one day thin, not a week, not a month, not a year. I lived through fat shaming. So any of you think that I would even, a scintilla, that I would go down that road, you're completely wrong. You're misjudging me. Don't misjudge my passion for anything other than I would love to be able to help any of you, at least in memory of my mom. She didn't get the opportunity. You have realized right now, if you're on this podcast, you get to hit the do-over button. My mom didn't get a do-over. She didn't get a second chance. I mean, at the end, she was on water pills and beta blockers and high blood pressure medication and cholesterol medication and sugar. I mean, you know, whatever. Now, I can't say, well, here's what I believe. I believe she dieted herself to death. I hate diets. I'm just going to be honest. I hate them. But my hatred has turned into a passion to be able to share with everyone like you. Listen, I've worked with people. One of my most successful stories is a gentleman in Denver. He weighed 587 pounds. I know, son, and saying to you, in 20 months, he lost 387 pounds, went from a 62 to a 36-inch waist, and has no loose skin, or almost no loose skin, had no surgery of any kind. We have kids as young as 2 doing this. We have a lady 91 years old. I already told you that the mom here is 80 and lost 90 pounds, and the daughter 57. Well, the whole thing was they wanted 2 people over 50 that had lost at least 50 pounds, never suspecting it'd be a mother and daughter. And they've kept it off for 3 years. See, the main reason to do this, the three top reasons. 1, detoxification. No other diet touches toxins. Now, if you think it's a good idea to store chemicals in your body, then you probably don't want to be on this podcast. Second reason, maintenance. 100% of this is by be able to continue to do it. And then the other part that's so important is that you're going to find the way you feel is insane. I would tell you right now, all of you have no idea how bad you actually feel because you don't understand how good you could feel. Most people on this, men and women, they'll lose as much weight in the first 4 days as any month of diet you've ever been on. How excited would that make any of you? Oh, Lita, thank you very much. Well, Lita, there's nothing to sign up on the website, Lita. You just go to the website. Do you see it there in the new health? Do you see it in blue? Victoria? Does everybody see that? Roman? Do you all see that? In blue, the new health conversation. And what you do then is you just simply go to Google, you type in the new health conversation. There's nothing to buy, there's nothing to join. You'll see there's nothing on the website to buy. And the world has free access to the medical proof that's there, including number 1, which I all would want you to watch, is a podcast with the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world. I promise if you listen to that, you'll never count a calorie again in your lifetime. And you'll understand, I hope I've done a fairly good idea of painting a picture, but he's the #1 researcher in the world, in the whole world. Do you think maybe you'd want to listen to him? You're probably all sick of listening to me, but I'm going to do this until I can't talk anymore. I try and do anywhere from 3 to 5 of these a day, and they're anywhere from an hour to up to 3 hours, depending on how many people come on and ask me. So there's nothing to sign up for, you understand? You go there, you look at the stuff, but then, Lisa, if you like what you see, you scroll down and you can get a free coach. And the coaching is 100% free, Lita, the whole time. And we don't know anything about you. I'm not sure if you're the one that doesn't have a gallbladder. I know it's 1% of the gallbladder, and other people, they got thyroid issues, and people say they can't lose weight. Well, of course they can't lose weight because they're doing a diet. If anything else, Lita, do you feel like you got educated? I hope you don't feel like I pitched you or sold you or convinced you of anything. I hope all of you feel like I'm educating you. Our goal at the New Health Conversation is to make you aware of what's available. But when we see things like, look at this, everybody, this really makes me happy. 200 pounds in about a year. Where's the loose skin, everybody? Where's the loose skin? Oh, Lita, I so appreciate that. But look at that. You think she's happy? Well, she was happy on the left. Now look at her. This is what drives me. See, that was my mom on the left. I mean, it's not my mom, but I'm just telling you. It just makes me sad, that's all. I still miss my mom and think, my gosh, if she could have done this and had lost the kind of weight that people lose even in 4 days, she would have been crying. She would have had her wish. Because her idea of thin would have been like, even if she could have lost 5 or 10 pounds, that would be like a major milestone. I mean, hell, I'd see her go to Weight Watchers. She'd spend a whole week. She'd lose 4 ounces, and then they'd give her a gold star and she'd go home. Now, what I want to point out to you, again, whether it's any of you that have commented about you're on whatever diet, again, let's go to the medical proof. This is the Journal of the American Medical Association. They did a meta-analysis, 48 different unique trials, 7,286 people. And the title is Comparison of Weight Loss Among Named Diet Programs in Overweight and Obese Adults. They basically listed all the major diets in this study. Now, what I hope you'll find interesting or shocking, in a year's time, because they were trying to find what was a really effective weight loss, right? From the most amount of weight loss on the number one diet they analyzed to the least amount of weight loss in a year, the only difference in weight in 12 months was 10 ounces. That's 1 ounce a month. Do you understand the futility of what you're actually doing? And they said that the weight loss in a year was 16 pounds and 25 to 40% of what people lost was lean muscle mass. Now let's go to the shots that everybody's doing. And we're not against the shots. Don't hear me say that. They're helping diabetics and they're helping people morbidly obese. But we're scientists. So we look at the data, we look at the proof. This is the New England Journal of Medicine. You all can go look it up if you're on the shot or thinking about the shot. We're not going to talk you out of it. We're not against the shots. But we want to show you the medical proof about how successful are they really. So this was a 68-week study. That's a year and 4 months. The weight loss after 68 weeks was 32 pounds. And of the 32 pounds people lost, 40% was lean muscle mass. This is right in the study, New England Journal of Medicine. See, that's what I'm saying. You're under these misconceptions because these people are telling you things that they're overlooking the fact. I don't care what the diet is. No one's arguing that you can lose weight initially. But the thing you have to ask is, what kind of weight are you losing? Now, I can tell you, I'm working with an awful lot of people that are on the shots, and every one of them is losing lean muscle mass, and they're coming to us to see if we can help them to not lose the lean muscle. And then the people coming off the shots, do you know they're gaining about a half a pound a day? And we're not against the shots, so don't hear me say that. But I'm just saying, if you had the choice between, oh, they lost 32 pounds in 68 weeks. I guess she didn't get the memo. She lost 60 pounds in 3 months. Look at her face, look at her arms, look at her stomach. No loss. See, when you lose lean muscle, that's when all that fat, you don't gain fat, but your fat cells are more prominent as you begin to lose lean muscle. It's just a given. It's a scientific fact, right? Oh, Lita, thank you very much. What about Patrick? Well, Cheeky, didn't I just explain about the peptides and the GLP-1s? Did you hear what I just said? But I'll go over it again. I'm happy to tell you. Because I don't know, I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at the comments, so I'm not sure when you came on or didn't come on. But I can read to you again from this huge study in the New England Journal of Medicine. You can go look it up. So just let me know, Cheeky, if you did hear me read it, because I'm happy to read it again. So just give me a yes or a no. Yes, you heard it, or no, you didn't. I did. Okay. So is that shocking to you? I mean, when you compare that to this, I mean, can you even gather the fact 68 weeks, 32 pounds, and every person is, well, 40% is their lean muscle mass, and that's why they're gaining everything back. Does that make sense? Do you see? That's with no exercise. Look at her stomach. Look at how much it went down. And if you look at April, my friend's daughter, look at her body. Or you look at Julie, this is even more. Look at how much Julie shrank. Look at that, Cheeky. Look at that. That's 37 days, 35 pounds. Or then this older gentleman, you know, you're always told, oh, you can't lose weight when you get older. Now remember, they took 68 weeks to lose 32 pounds. He lost 40 pounds in a month. Cheeky, 40 pounds in a month. Look at his stomach, but look at his blood work. His A1C from 8.4 to 6.4. Triglycerides 242 to 124 in 30 days. Cheeky. What do you think about that? I'd love for you to comment. Listen, all of you, I'm here. This is an open forum. Let's have a discussion. We want to invite you to help us join the new health conversation. There's nothing to join, no membership fee. We want to give you access to the medical knowledge so you can see, and then maybe you want to do the protocol or not. We don't sell anything. We don't have any products. We're scientists, researchers. Yeah. Cheeky. I mean, Lita, what do you think about that too, right? Yeah. What can I do, Dabby? Yeah, I create my own monster, everybody, because no, I'm kidding. I love having people on here. But what would really help me if we get some more taps on that screen, because I see the love coming, it inspires me. I mean, I've already been on for an hour and 50 minutes, and I'm going to keep going. So let me explain to you, Dabby. Yeah, I'm in awe. Good. Dabby, so let me explain to you what this is, okay? So Lita and everybody else, don't be bored. I'm going to explain it again. But Cheeky, I don't think you heard this either, so it'll be important. So first of all, let's talk about who invented this. This was invented by what are considered, Cheeky and Deba, by the top weight loss, nutrition physiologists in the world, rated #1. They had done 100 studies on human beings over 40 years on every diet you could name. Well, maybe there's some now that you couldn't, but pretty much every diet. And what they found, sadly, after 40 years analyzing, Cheeky, every diet out there, they never found a diet where people were able to keep weight off long term. And sadly, 2/3 of the people ended up gaining more weight than they lost. We're losing the battle on obesity, everybody. From 1990 to 2025, in 35 years, the amount of people that are obese has doubled. So obviously these diets aren't making a dent in it. It's like we're fighting a forest fire with a garden hose. You know, it's like trying to put out those horrible fires in California and Pacific Palisades with garden hoses. That didn't work. And that's what we're doing against this onslaught. So the researchers said we have to abandon what we were doing. Keep in mind, these researchers, they didn't create the diets. They were hired to analyze the diets, right? So what they said, the problem with the diet is it's all based on calorie counting. The problem with that is none of you know what a calorie is. I don't, because I've only had 9 people. Let me make an assumption. Most of you don't know what a calorie is, okay? So nothing's an absolute, right? Because people will call me on it. I know what a calorie is. Well, if you do, put it in the chat. So the researchers said, we're going to abandon calorie counting, all of you. Abandon it. No, we're not going to let you calorie count. Instead, we're going to pick, the theory was, the key to life, there's 3 things that keep us alive. Air, water, and a minimum of something, but not calories, nutrition. So the researchers said, based on that, here was the problem with every diet and why you're all gaining all the weight back. When you go on a diet, you reduce, I don't care what you call it, you're reducing the amount of food you're consuming. Well, by definition, you're reducing the amount of nutrition. When your brain figures out you've dropped nutrition below, see, nutrition keeps us alive. It's the fuel that runs the brain, the kidney, the liver, the heart, etc., right? So now the brain's sensing there's not enough fuel, so it has no choice. It goes in panic mode, prevents you from accessing the fuel in your fat cell, which is what we're supposed to run on, not the fat cells themselves. Don't let anybody tell you you're burning fat. That's total nonsense. You're born with a certain number of fat cells, you die with a certain number of fat cells, and no diet or exercise, you're not losing any fat cells unless you do liposuction or surgery. So the researchers said, we need to come up with a program that's only based on making sure there's at least enough nutrition, never to trigger the starvation mode in the brain, and more if possible. So what did they do? They found foods with high levels of nutrition, but smaller quantities. And they picked the foods for you. Proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, and vegetables. You literally would get a grocery store list. You take it to the grocery store. Is that dramatic enough for all of you? Boom. I know I'm being dramatic. I'm punch drunk already today. Anyway, and those foods, they give you serving sizes. That's why only 25 to 30% of what you're going to buy would represent, of your total food budget from last month, you're only going to spend 25 to 30% at the grocery store. But that's only 30% of what you're going to eat. Now, what's the other thing that is so critically important? They also had found, other researchers have gone around the world to places like Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, to find foods with huge amounts of nutrition and nutrients. Some of the nutrients came from these areas in the world you've all heard of called blue zones, where people live to be 100 years old. Hell, I want to put that in my body. What about you, right? So now they had the food groups. Now, what they've created here is a nutritional system, not a diet. There's no supplements. You don't need supplements unless you're on a doctor's prescription for like iron, or say you got calcium deficiency. These have massive amounts of nutrition. So you don't need supplements. If you're giving your body, if your body has, it's not just that you're getting enough nutrition, it's the variety. You need fats, you need proteins, you need carbs, you need fruits, you need vegetables, but only in certain amounts if they have enough nutrition. So now they had the foods, and then this allowed them, because of this new concept of nutritional density, to do something they'd never done before. So they let her and you'd eat 5 days a week, 4 meals a day. It's called protein pacing. They got a registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office, of a new way to eat. Wow. So 5 days a week, 4 meals. And what did a day look like? Breakfast from these world's most exotic foods. That's what the researchers call them from a nutritional standpoint. And that's the only thing you should care about. And they taste good, okay? You don't have to hold your nose, right? Lunch from the grocery store, dinner from the grocery store, and a fourth meal after dinner from these exotic foods around the world. You can't buy them at your grocery store unless you want to go to Russia or Mongolia or Tibet, South America, New Zealand, and bring these nutrients back. And they make them available in certain parts of the world, not everywhere. So anyway, to make a long story short, they then 2 days a week did something that's critically important to all of us to be alive. They created a detox. What? Yeah, listen to me. They call it intermittent nutritional fasting. Not fasting, not water fasting, not time restricted eating. In those days, no food from the grocery store, only these exotic foods from around the world, but this time you're eating 8 times a day. 8 times a day. You're eating about every hour and a half for 2 hours. Diabetics, no one had insulin spikes. People that weighed 300 pounds were not hungry. We weren't hungry at all, because see, you're never hungry for calories. What are you hungry for, everybody? Are you getting it? Can everybody put it in the chat? Nutrition. I gave you the answer. In a month's time, hunger in all these people, all across the board, men and women, went down 41%. For the first time ever in history, need for insulin with the diabetics that were part of this, it dropped by 41%, and the doctors monitored these people, had to cut their meds by 50% in 30 days. If you're a diabetic type 2 on metformin or glucophage or trapezoid or Ozempic or whatever you're on, imagine being able to have, this is not a replacement for drugs or allopathic. We're not treating, curing, diagnosing, or making any or preventing any medical disease. But we are sharing with you what's in these published, peer-reviewed studies. There are 10 of them. One of the studies, just to show you how powerful this is I'm holding in my hand in Nature Communications. It had nothing to do with the weight loss. Listen to what it had to do with. Gut microbiome remodeling and metabolic profile improves drastically in response to protein pacing and intermittent nutritional fasting. Gut health, really important to us. Also, you know what this is? I said it's a detox. Because they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, proving this was assisting our body in removing the chemicals that are embedded in our fat cells. The reason, everybody complains to us about how much weight they have, how much fat they have in their body. Look at her stomach, everybody. Look what happened. With no exercise. No one was allowed. I just did. No, not quite. What you say about Monjero? It wasn't Monjero. I was talking about semaglutide. In 68 weeks, people lost 32 pounds, and 40% of the 32 pounds was lean muscle mass. It's right in the New England Journal of Medicine. Titles once weekly semaglutide in adults with overweight or obesity. Same thing with Monjero. It doesn't matter. So horsey nut. Did you hear me explain it? I went as fast as I could. And horsey nut, which you can do right above your head in blue, that's to save you time. See the new health conversation. Go there, you see the medical proof, and then you can get a free coach, and they'll explain everything to you. The coaching is 100% free. Also, you're buying 30% of your food from the grocery store, 70%. But the 70% you're buying from those researchers, if this doesn't work, they'll give you all your money back in 30 days, in the first 30 days. Show me anything like that on the planet. Got it? So cheeky, no, it's not a measure of energy. Keep going. Nice try. I love it when people try. But you see the challenge, cheeky? If you don't know actually what a calorie is, how could you know what it does? And secondly, why are you counting calories when you don't know what it is? When the human body, but cheeky, here's the key: the body has no idea what a calorie is. That's what the researchers proved. They did that for 40 years. 100 studied thousands of people counting calories. No one ever kept the weight off long term, ever, in 40 years. Isn't that just unbelievable? So, Dabby, did that make sense about what I told you about the GLP-1s? Because someone asked me about that. Oh, it was Cheeky that asked me. So, Cheeky, you're clear on that now, right? So, Cheeky, what do you think about what just I explained? Do you understand why this is so different? But again, I think you said, what did you want to lose, 30 pounds or something? I can't remember what you told me. Yes, you did hear me, Dabby. But let me ask you something cheeky. But let's just say if you could lose 5 pounds a week, how ecstatic would you be? How ecstatic? Would you even believe it? Would you think it's fake? Because most people in 4 days are going to lose the kind of weight that would take you a month. I'm serious. And most of the time, you know what they tell us? They think their scale's broken. That's just crazy. So who else would like to ask me a question? We've been stuck at 1,600 likes. Can we get some taps on the screen? We got new people coming on here. I know that. Come on, everybody, tap on that screen. Let's get those likes up into the thousands more. Unless you don't like the content, don't tap on the screen. Oh, there we go. There's some hearts. So yeah, cheeky. You can Google it. You know, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. But it just proves the point. But I didn't know, cheeky, I didn't know what a calorie was 24 years ago, so I don't feel bad. But that's my point. We've had 9 people in a year ever get the definition of a calorie, and we've had thousands of people collectively on all my podcasts. I've done over 1,000 podcasts. And, you know, so it's tens of thousands of people that have been in these podcasts, and I had 9 people that have ever gotten the actual definition of a calorie. Isn't that just nuts? So keep tapping. Oh, we're at 1,900. Come on, we can do way better than that, everybody. I go into these. How long losing 100 pounds leave the skin? Well, here, look at her. That's 60 pounds in 3 months. So 100 pounds. No, she's, see, again, I don't know how old you are. I don't know if you exercise, you're on any medication, do you have any injuries, you know, et cetera. But, you know, she, as a younger woman, she was about, I think she was about 25. And that's 9 years ago. She's kept it off for 9 years. But look at that, 60 pounds in 3 months. So 100, and look, where's the loose skin? But look at this one. Wait a minute, let me show you Mary here. How about 200 pounds? Where's the loose skin? It's a program. I'm going to explain it to you in just a moment. So, Lita, do you see that? What do you think about her? Is that just crazy? But you can also see it, you know, not 100 pounds, but look at how much she shrank, 35 pounds. Where's the loose skin? There isn't any. Nicole, I already didn't I tell you that, Nicole, that skipping breakfast is one of the worst things you can do? What's the safest to lose? What's the safest to lose a week? I don't know what you're talking about. What's the safest to lose a week? I'm not quite sure what that is. Depends your starting weight. And again, yeah, depends what you. Okay, so let's come back here for who is it that's asking me? Oh, Isabel. All right, so Isabel, I'm going to give you a shortened version of it because so many people have things to do, not listen to me. It was invented by the top weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world who've done 100 studies over 40 years, thousands of people on every diet out there. And sadly, after 40 years, they concluded no diet they ever analyzed. Remember, they didn't create the diets. They were the scientists to evaluate the success or lack thereof of all the diets. They never found a diet where people kept weight off long term and 2/3 of people gained more than they lost. And they said it's because counting calories is completely useless. It has no bearing on weight loss long term. That's it, everybody. Keep tapping on the screen for likes. So what they did, they said, we're going to come up with a new protocol that would be based on a new principle, and that would only be on what's called nutritional density. What does it mean? It means they were going to identify foods, which they did, and put together a grocery list that you would get to take to your grocery store of proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, and vegetables. No calorie counting at all. They're going to give you serving sizes of the protein, the fats, the carbs, the fruits, and the vegetables, and even salad dressings, okay? So that was the theory. Now, what foods did they select? 30% from your grocery store, all organic. Only 30% of whatever you bought last month, you're going to only spend about 25 to 30% this month on these foods that they selected, because they give you serving sizes which are smaller. Now, don't get worried that you're going to get hungry, because your hunger doesn't come from calories. It comes from lack of nutrition. The other 70%, and here's what makes it why you could never duplicate this with any food in North America. These other researchers spent 20 years going to Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand to find foods with huge amounts of nutrition in small quantities of food. So those were the two food groups that they put together what's called a nutritional system. You said, I think that's what you said, so you're very astute. But it was based on these huge amounts of nutrition, but in smaller quantities of food, like as if you were on a diet, but you're on a diet with nutrition instead of with calories, because the body doesn't know what a calorie is, right? Then they invented a new way of eating called protein pacing that we would teach you. By the way, our coaching is free. There's no charge for coaching. You don't buy anything from us. You're buying food. Like I said, 30% from the grocery store, 70% from these foods from around the world. Now, 5 days a week, you'd have 4 meals a day. You'd start with these foods from around the world: Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, for breakfast. Lunch from the grocery store list, dinner from the grocery store list, and a fourth meal after dinner, these exotic foods from around the world. 2 days a week, you do something, and this is until you lose the weight. You do something called intermittent nutritional fasting. Now, not fasting, not water fasting, not time restricted. Don't hear the word fasting. On those days, no food from the grocery store, only these exotic foods from around the world. But this time, you're going to eat 8 times a day. You're going to have something every hour and a half or 2 hours over the course of, you can see, 12 or 16 hours. Diabetics on this, no one had an insulin spike. People that weighed 300 pounds were not hungry. Again, please get the concept. It has nothing to do with the quantity of food you're consuming. It only has to do with the nutrition inside the food you're consuming. It has nothing to do with calories. Your body has no idea what a calorie even is. In a month's time, they proved hunger went down 41% in a month. Blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, all came down dramatically in just a month. Inflammation, which plagues all of us, came down 25% in a month. No diet has ever produced anything like this. But the biggest two factors in doing this, the number one factor, is to combat this new medical syndrome, which is a registered trademark U.S. Patent Office called TDOS. T for toxicity, D for nutritional deficiency, O for being overweight, S is for stress. Peter Greenlaw, oh, I guess that's me. I did invent this. But it's not me. The Patent Office recognized it as new medical syndrome. So what's happening to all of us, in case you don't know, you're breathing, drinking, eating chemicals. And as they come in your body, once the liver can't handle them anymore, it takes the chemical and stuffs it in your fat, the specific fat called visceral fat around your organs. Look at her stomach on day 1 and look at her stomach on day 30. That's with no exercise, no sit-ups, no gym whatsoever. Got it? So this is first and foremost a detox. Number 2, maintenance. That picture's 8 or 9 years old. She's kept it off for 8 or 9 years. Maintenance. What's maintenance? Like this morning, I had the world's most perfect meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Why wouldn't you put the world's most perfect meal into your body at least once a day? And then every 2 months, do another intermittent nutritional fast once you've lost the weight. See, this protocol is called R2M, race to maintenance. Does that make sense to everybody? There's no safest amount, because you can see right here, look at this. He lost 10 pounds a week. But the main thing is there's no loss of muscle mass, no matter how drastic the weight loss is. That's what you have to understand. And they proved it medically. Does that make sense? Oh, great, Cheeky, great. Is it all vegan or meat included? They both, there's a vegan version and there's a what you call a meat version. There's both versions. But the meat version is more dramatic in its outcome than the vegan version, although we have tons of vegans that are doing this, okay? So, and Cheeky, you understand it's you know where to go, right? The New Health Conversation in blue. All of you, that's the free website for all of you to go to, the New Health Conversation. If you all, hey, keep tapping on that screen. So Isabel, does that make sense? So the vegan and a meat version. But also, Isabel, if you go to the website, we're not going to contact you. Also, I'm sure you understand that, Cheeky. We will not contact you, right? But it's free coaching. And guess how much the coaching is? 0. Guess how much the consultation is? 0. Basically, their job, and what you would also get is what the researchers develop for their patients in these big studies. It's called the Blueprint for Success. And you get this obviously for free, otherwise you couldn't do it. Each one of those yellows is a daily video from the researchers telling you exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, etc. And then you have a live coach. And the coach there's someone who's done it. They've been trained by us to coach you, and they'll text you, they'll call you, they'll email you. You can do Zoom, whatever. We're very serious about it. We got coached intensely. And this change, I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks 23 years ago. You think that had an impact on my life? Big time. It turned around some major health concerns and challenges that I was facing 23 years ago that I'm not facing today, thank God. Are the meals expensive? No. As a matter of fact, here's the best way for me to explain it to you. Use the 323. Whatever you spent last month, you're only going to spend 30% on food you buy from the grocery store. The other 70% will pretty much pay for these exotic foods. If not, maybe you'd spend another $25 a week. It's actually very affordable because you're getting food. You understand you're only going to buy 30% of the groceries you bought last month with a specific list of proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, and vegetables with serving sizes, not calories. You need to adhere to the serving sizes. That's why you can buy so much less food from the grocery store. And also, I should tell you, user 323, those 70% of the foods you're going to buy from those researchers, 100% money back guarantee in the first 30 days, no questions asked if it doesn't work. Now, nothing's 100%. I wouldn't be that dumb to say that. So who else would like to? So does that help, user 323? Give me a yes or a no. So Lita, does that make sense to you? Your body is going to tell you, we have people that weigh, like I said, my biggest person was 587 pounds. I think the first week he only lost like 10 pounds, believe it or not. But in 20 months, he lost 387 pounds. So he averaged almost 20, well, he pretty much averaged like 5 pounds a week for 20 months. That's a year and, what's that, year and 8 months. I mean, it's so dramatic because of the fact, well, let me ask you this, Lita. If you could lose as much weight in the first 4 days as in a month and 4 weeks, how motivated would you be to continue? Let me know. I'd love to know. Because that's pretty, you know what most people ask us after we say, just give us 4 days. Because normally by the, yes, thank you. Good, 323. Extremely, right. Lita, did you tell me how much you want to lose? You don't have to if you don't want to, but I'd love to know because I really feel like you've been hanging in there. You deserve whatever time that I'm happy to give anybody one-on-one time. The thing I love about this so much, I've done over 1,500 lectures around the world, and the biggest one I did at the Anaheim Convention Center, 12,000 people. Well, that's not too personal. These podcasts allow me to be one-on-one with people. Okay, 50 off. Isabel. All right, so you need 100, okay? So Isabel, I'm going to tell you right now, with no exercise, you're probably going to lose 50 pounds, maybe 3 months, 4 months max 4 months, max. Lita, you probably, I would say, based on what our experience, so let's say it's, what is it now? Let's say August. So easily by Thanksgiving, you'll be down 100 pounds. Easily. Maybe before. But I'd rather under-promise to you and over-perform. But remember, the first 30 days, you're going to find out you get to rent the car. If it doesn't work, they're going to give you all your money back. And you get coached for free. Our goal is to get you to your goal. Our goal is not... And then maintenance is so easy. That's what I had this morning. I don't take any supplements. Do you get it? I don't take no supplements at all. This is what I need. It's the world's most perfect meal from a nutritional standpoint. There you go. It's got the minerals and the vitamins. I mean, do you know that these foods they found from around the world have 22 naturally occurring vitamins? You take a vitamin supplement, it's a pill that was made in a laboratory. It's not the same. Our food in this country used to have those kind of nutrients. They're vanishing. They're vanishing. But how would you do it without? Lisa, meet and social events. Obviously you can go to social. That's why you have a coach. We have people going on vacation. We have people going on cruises. There's anniversaries, there's weddings. No, it's not restrictive. That's why you have a coach. They'll guide you through if you do have a social event. But Lita, we got coached. And I'll tell you what happens, Lita. Like, for example, you go on this and lose 100 pounds. Do you think you're going to have people asking you way before you lose 100, what are you doing? So a lot of times people like yourself say, I'd like to help other people. So if you wanted to, you could become, you don't have to, but lots of people are doing that. They're so moved by their own result. Maybe they got a friend or a family member or a spouse or someone at church or someone at work, and they're saying, wow, this is a gift. Our biggest limitation is we don't have enough coaches. That's just, I mean, moving forward, I don't know how that's going to turn out because I'm my own worst enemy by doing these big podcasts, and we get people that need to be coached. But Lita, the most important thing, think about it when you fly. When the flight attendant comes on, what do they tell you first? Sudden depressurization. They don't say put the other person's mask on first, put your mask on first. So obviously you couldn't even think about being a coach or doing a coach because you haven't even experienced it. How would you coach somebody if you've never done it? We couldn't coach people if we didn't know how. And we're doing it. I don't know if you ever saw the movie, any of you, called Pay It Forward. Wow. Sad, but an amazing movie. I'll give you no, I'm not even going to give you the punch. I mean, it's just such an amazing movie. It's pretty old, but it's wonderful. It made me cry. Makes most people cry, but it's really heartwarming. Lita, yes. Huh. So you understand where we're coming from, right? I'm going to share this with all the women in my family. Lita, do you have access to Women's World? I don't know if you do. If not, I think you can. This was June 9th of this year, so about, 5 weeks ago? And I think you can still get back issues online, but this is terrific. As a matter of fact, Lita, there's, well, you can go to the website and get that extra information there, Isabel. Let me find it. Where am I going? I just wanted to show you here, Lita and everybody else. So here's it's actually it's a 2-page article on this protocol. New Protein Miracle. And again, I coach both these women. The daughter's 57. She lost 50 pounds in 3 months. That's why I'm saying you're 100 pounds. I'm pretty comfortable. The mom lost 90 pounds it was about 10 months, I think, 11 months. But they've kept it off now for 3 years. So doesn't that excite you, Lita? You don't have to. Because again, on the website, you're going to see all the medical proof, including this interview with the #1 weight loss researcher in the world. So that's why... no, but I can look it up. Oh, good, Lita. Okay, right. Oh, yeah, wasn't any. Oh, and the ending. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Wasn't it just terrific? The June 9th, June 9. And so, Isabel, I definitely need more information. So do you understand, Isabel? Give me a yes that website, the New Health Conversation, that's where you want to go. It's free to go there. Well, let me show you. Let me show you. Who is it? Isabel, sorry. You go to the New Health Conversation. You see it there? Type, but it's make sure it's the New Health Conversation. There's the website with the 2 women on the cover, okay? But for example, #1, that's one of the things for sure you want to watch. It's a podcast with the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world. You know what's cool about this? He has no products to sell. They have no agenda. They're just scientists. But he explains it in layman's terms. So you don't have to be a scientist like me to understand what he's talking about. I interviewed him, and people, I have not had anybody that's gone and watched that interview that doesn't want to try this protocol. Because what the hell? It's 100% money back guarantee in the first 30 days. Your only risk is you don't do it and you go on a diet and you lose weight and you're going to gain it all back. Does that make sense to everybody? No, thank you, Lita. I really, really am pulling for you. I really am. But again, it's your decision. Please understand, Lita. Let me ask you again. I think maybe I asked you before, but do you feel like this podcast has really educated you and given you real value? Not convincing you of anything or selling you, just presenting the medical proof. Is that of value to you? And anybody can comment on that. It has nothing to do with me. It doesn't matter whether people like me. Oh, yes, definitely. Good. And do you think, how radically different is this than anything you've ever heard before about diets, losing weight, health, etc.? I mean, your words. You tell me what you think. Because that's the point. It's not a diet. It's not like anything. I've needed nutrition. Yeah, there you go. But Lita, where would you get it? Do you see what I'm saying? Where would you get it? I mean, I'd like to visit Russia. I've always wanted to go to the Himalayas, to be quite honest with you. I think that'd be incredible. I don't know about Mongolia. That sounds kind of cold and barren to me for some reason. South America and New Zealand, I could go there. But obviously, that's pretty impractical. To go get my dinner, I got to get on a pretty fast jet to go to all those places to get it. Yeah, exactly. So, any new people coming on, would you like to ask me a question about how is it possible that this is this fake? Is it Photoshop? Is it a joke? Or is it real? And I would ask any of you skeptics that maybe aren't responding or don't want to respond, are you willing to take a chance that your skepticism prevents you from figuring out what this is? So you're dismissing it with no evidence. You're dismissing it without the facts. Because this study, or this approach, this protocol, I guess you could say, is published in 10 of the biggest medical journals in the world. And I'll give you an example of some of them. The Obesity Journal, Frontiers in Physiology, Nutrients, the Nutrition Journal, the Frontiers in Nutrition, and Nature Communications, the #1 medical journal in the world. And the study in here had nothing to do with the weight loss. Title is Gut Microbiome Remodeling and Metabolic Profile Improves Massively in Response to Protein Pacing and Intermittent Nutritional Fasting. Has nothing to do with the weight loss, has to do with your overall health. Oh, 323. Well, welcome. I'm glad you feel it. In Greece for 2 weeks, I ate everything. Exactly, Lita. You're proving my point. Exactly. Because what you're eating actually had nutrition in it. And then when you came back, sadly, you had to go back to American food. And you probably, am I right? Did you gain all the weight back? God, Greece is supposed to be beautiful. Oh, I don't know if you're Greek or you just went there on vacation, but I've heard that it's just, yes, you gained it all back. But doesn't that make you mad? Did it ever make you think in your mind, what's wrong? What's wrong? How come I can't keep the weight off? I gained it all back. Yeah, I know you did. I figured that's what your yes meant. But I'm saying, how did it make you feel personally? Something's wrong here, isn't it? Isn't something wrong? How's that possible that I could eat more food and lose weight? Because the food you ate was mostly nutrition. And your body processes that way better. The body has a hell of a time processing, for example, processed food. Did all of you know when you eat processed food, you cause an immune system reaction in your body? Your immune system reacts to processed food? I don't want my immune system going and checking out, Now, do I still eat bad stuff every once in a while? Of course. I love Lay's potato chips. But can I eat one? Heck no. So I either surrender that I'm going to eat the bag or I just don't eat them at all. And I eat them way less than I used to. Pizza, the same thing. I could eat a whole pizza. Now, 2 or 3 slices, I'm totally full. Because once you have enough nutrition, see, you're all what's called metabolically inflexible. What does that mean? It means right now you're relying primarily on your fuel to run your body, sugar and simple carbohydrates. What this allows you to do within 3 or 4 days is go, if you imagine a needle to the right, that's a red zone, where you're burning sugar and carbs to survive. What this does, it moves you over into the zone that's called becoming metabolically flexible, where you're relying on the nutrition that's available to you and relying on the energy inside your fat cell and not using your muscles for fuel, which is what happens on every single diet. This has nothing to do with counting calories, 0 to do with counting calories. I can see more people are coming on. So who would like to ask me a question about this? And I do have to close it out here a little bit because my voice, I got to go get something to drink or whatever. And then I'll probably, because I've now been on for 2 hours and 23 minutes. I'm not complaining. It's wonderful. You all go, but let's get some more taps on that screen, everybody. If you're coming on, please, if you like the content. But for the new people coming on, would you like to know how she did this? And it's not a diet. It's not counting. It's not an exercise. No exercise allowed. She was not allowed to exercise. And she really lost 21 pounds and 38 inches in just 30 days. How great is that? Yes, please, 406. I'm sorry, 404. I'm always curious when people put that in. Is that your area code? 404? Not that it matters. There's too many numbers there, but I'm just always curious, all right? So user 404, before I explain to you, and I'm happy to explain it to you, are you looking to lose weight? And if you don't mind, how much you're looking to lose? or if you better, what's your height and what's your weight. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I want to be of value. I'm a just to let you know, let me introduce myself. My name is Peter Greenlaw. I've been a nutritional researcher for 23 years. I appeared over 20 times on public broadcasting. I did over 1,500 live lectures around the world. I've written 4 best-selling books for some of the medical doctors in the world. And let me be honest, for 22 of my 23 years in the medical world, all of that meant zero because there were no published peer-reviewed human trial studies. What we're going to be teaching you is, okay, great. So what we're going to be teaching you is from the medical proof. These are peer-reviewed human trial studies. So let me just say this to you. Okay, so 5'2", 190, 30 pounds. Okay, so how excited would you be if in the first 4 days you lose 6 to 8 pounds? Because that's pretty typical on this with no exercise. You can see there she averaged 5 pounds a week. So let's get into it to shock you. So first thing I can tell you, it's not a diet. And it was invented, just to let you know, 404, by the top weight loss, nutrition, physiologists in the world. They had done 100 studies for companies. They were hired to analyze diets for 40 years. Sadly, in those 40 years, after hundreds and hundreds of diets, they never found one where people lost weight and kept it off. Sadly, 2/3 of the people gained more weight than they lost. So basically, about 13 years ago, they abandoned that approach and went out and sought, is there some other way that we can have people lose weight and keep it off? That was the whole goal. So the first thing they concluded was counting calories is completely useless. We've had 9 people in a year actually give us the actual medical definition of a calorie. I don't know if you know what it is or not, but most people don't. I didn't know what it was. So the researchers said, here's what we want to try to do. You're alive, 404, because of 3 things: air, water, and a minimum amount of what? Not calories, nutrition. So the problem with any diet you've been on, or the challenge you'd have to try and lose that weight, by the way, on this you can lose a lot more than 30 pounds safely. I mean, to give you an idea with that kind of weight, you're going to lose at least 20, 25 pounds in the first month. Tell me how excited you would be if you could lose 5 pounds a week. Would that like excite you? But I want you to understand how you can do it and why it's safe. Safe is the number one thing. So the researchers said, if we're going to make this work, we have to completely abandon calorie counting because it hasn't worked for 40 years. So the new thing was, we're going to go and find the only thing your body cares about is nutrition. We're going to find foods that, not by quantity, but by what they call nutritional density, foods that had high levels of nutrition. So they put together a grocery list that you would physically get for free. You'd take it to your grocery store, but only whatever you spent last month on groceries, on terms of these foods that they picked, proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, and vegetables, you're only going to spend 30% of what you spent at the grocery store. The other 70% you're going to spend, or a little bit, maybe even more than that, not a lot more, goes to these exotic foods that came from other researchers who spent 20 years going around the world to places like Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, that represented huge amounts of nutrition, but small amounts of food. You got it? So those were the 2 food groups. Because of this new protocol, which had nothing to do with calorie counting, they went and created a new way of eating called protein pacing. You heard me say it, a new way of eating. And what they did, this would be until you lose the weight. 5 days a week, you'd have 4 meals a day. You'd start with these exotic foods from around the world, that 70% you're buying that come from Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand. Breakfast, lunch from the grocery store, dinner from the grocery store, and a 4th meal after dinner from these exotic foods from around the world. 2 days a week, you're going to do something called intermittent nutritional fasting. Not fasting, not water fasting, not time restricted eating. On those days, no food from the grocery store, only these exotic foods around the world, but this time you're going to eat 8 times a day. You heard me, you're going to eat about every hour and a half for 2 hours. Now, the reason you can fast with nutrition, you have very small quantities of food, but those foods have, it's sort of like the atomic energy of nutrition. That'd be a good way to think about it. Do you know that diabetics on this, nobody had insulin spikes? Do you know on this that people weighed 300 pounds were not hungry? You see, you've got to understand your hunger doesn't come from lack of calories. Not just you 404, I'm addressing everybody. It comes from lack of nutrition. When your brain's telling you you're hungry, you're misguided. You think it somehow has something to do with calories. Your body's telling you, we don't know how to listen. Now we do. These scientists proved it for us, that the most important thing to you in your life is nutrition, not calories, not exercise even. Because your organs can't run without nutrition. So what happens when you go on these diets, the brain freaks out, you don't have enough nutrition, it shuts down the ability to access the fuel in your fat cell and turns to your muscles for fuel. 25 to 40% of what you've lost on any diet ever is your lean muscle mass. Well, by definition, that slows your metabolism down. That's why you plateau, and that's why you probably are where you are today. You probably dieted before, and I guarantee you've gained more weight than you've probably lost. It's very frustrating, but it's not your fault. This could change the rest of your life, could change everything for you. Let me ask you again. If you could lose, well, you only want to lose 30 pounds. I'm going to say we're going to get you more than that. You're going to probably, like I said, in the first month, low end, you're going to lose 20 pounds. Easy 20 pounds in the first month with no exercise. But we would want your ideal weight, you probably get mad at me when I tell you this, is more like 5'2", you want to be like 120. And now you're going to be, oh my God, I'm going to be too skinny. No, you don't understand. Because you got to understand when people lose, look at this lady right here, 35 pounds in 37 days. Look at her body. Does that look like she has loose skin? Does that look like fat? Anything? And here's this, this daughter of a friend of mine, 60 pounds in 3 months. 60. Look at her face, look at her arms, look at her body. But if you could lose 20 pounds in the first month, do you think you'd be incentivized to want to go more than what you originally said? I know you're setting, because on a diet, that 30-pound, first of all, on a diet, to lose 30 pounds, take you about a year. I mean, this is so much better. Oh, see right above her head in blue? Do you see it there, 404? The new health conversation. Do you see that? Give me a yes. That's the website you go and scroll down and you get a free coach and they'll go over everything with you, including how to order. Oh, good. Okay, but you do see the new health conversation. Yes? Give me a yes. Oh, good. Okay. So just make sure you write it down and that's where you go and then you can get a free coach. That's for all of you. So who else would like to ask me a question? Who else would like to ask me a question? And can we get some more taps? We're at 2,800 likes. I know we can get to 3,000. Come on. I think my record is 27,000 or something. But that was like a 3-hour. Well, this one's 2 hours and 31 minutes. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. And I can't believe some of you hung in there all this time. You're not bored with me yet? Lita, I can't wait to have you have these kind of results. I mean, you really deserve it, because I love the fact when people are curious, because the only way we're going to really solve things is through science, right? I mean, let me ask you a question. How are we doing this right now? How am I talking to you? I don't even know where you live. I don't have any wires. What's going on? It's all wonderful. I mean, GPS, how does that work? What do you mean car ahead up on the side of the road? Police ahead. I don't know how it works, but it sure is great. I used to use Rand McNally maps in the old days. I'm aging myself, but it wasn't that long ago. I don't think GPS has been around, for maybe 10 years? Maybe less than 10 years. I don't know. So I guess it's not. So who else would like to ask me a question? We got lots of people coming on. Are you curious? Let's go back to even a more normal kind of picture. But this is the typical weight loss on this, and it's not a diet, is 5 pounds a week until you get to your goal, whatever it is. She lost, look at her. So 4 weeks, she lost 21.2 pounds. That's 5 pounds, well, a little over 5 pounds a week, but 38 inches. Look at how much her stomach shrank with no exercise, no sit-ups of any kind. So who else would like to ask me a question? I really do have to rest my voice here pretty soon, or I won't be able to continue, because I'm doing these. I'm trying to do these podcasts max an hour in between, sometimes 30 minutes. So if you're just coming on, I'll probably come back on. It's now 1:30 on the East Coast, so I'll probably come back on around maybe 2 or 2:30. If I haven't finished this one yet, because I want to make sure, is anybody out there still that has not heard the presentation of how they did it and the information you all can get for free right there in blue, the new health conversation. Does everybody see that? I don't know if I can type it in the chat. Let's see, the new, because most of the time if I type it in the chat, no one can see it. Let me just see if that works. So, blessed 888, you want to know? Is that what you're saying? You want to just give me a yes, blessed, just so I know. And blessed, if you would like me to explain it to you, if you don't mind, oh yes, you'd like to know. But blessed, if you don't mind, just to help me, how tall are you, and how much do you weigh, and how much would you like to lose? That's really important because it really, this is so dramatic and it's so safe and it's backed by, well, I have them right here. The study, this protocol is now published in 10 of the biggest medical journals in the world. There is no other diet program with even one peer-reviewed human trial study in these major medical journals. It took 40 years of research by the top weight loss researchers, physiologists, and nutritionists in the world. They're the ones that created this. They had done, listen to this, 100 studies over 40 years, analyzing almost every diet available, and the sad conclusion was they never found a diet in 40 years where people lost weight and kept it off long term. And 2/3 of the people sadly gained more weight than they lost. Diets are miserable, miserable failures. They are going to change the world. They are going to make every diet obsolete. 53174. Okay, and what do you think you should weigh? Because I'd rather you have me, because you'll be mad if I tell you what I think is possible, okay? But I'm just curious what you think you'd be happy with. Well, oh, you're right. That's what I would have picked it. Okay, so let's just say 44 pounds. Got it? Okay, so again, it's important. I want to walk you down this path because I want you to see how excited you're going to be. I think you are. In 4 days, you'll probably lose 6 to 8 pounds. Please tell me how excited that would make you. Genevieve, you want to know too? Can you also tell me how tall and what you weigh? You don't have to. I'm going to explain it to you anyway, but I want to vary. Okay, so to get there, let me give you just, okay, so 44 pounds. I don't even want to tell you because you're going to think I'm crazy. There's no way at all, if you will follow us and you're coachable and you'll do it, because we didn't invent this, understand, it's not a diet. You're not going to learn how to do a diet. You're going to lose a completely different way of living your life, which is going to get the weight off. I would say 44 pounds for you. 1st of October, you'll be down 44 pounds. Now, how much would that excite you? Okay, Genevieve. Genevieve, let me show you my friend's daughter. This will give you some real incentive. 60 pounds in 3 months. Would you be kind of happy with that if it was 40 pounds? I'll tell you this, Genevieve, with that kind of weight, you'll probably lose, in the first 4 days, you'll lose 10 or 12 pounds. You'll probably lose in the first month, you're going to lose easily 30 pounds. Now, again, how much would that incentivize you to continue? See, this protocol for everybody is called the race to maintenance. It's not about, can we get the weight off you? And then look at this. I want both of you to see this. And this is why I do this. It's so rewarding. Look at this lady here. 200 pounds in a year. Where's the loose skin, everybody? No surgery. This is not a diet. This is like nothing you've ever done before. I can't wait to share with both of you or all of you with this right now, okay? So let's come back and just focus. Now, let me ask you another question, Genevieve or Blessed. If you could even lose 5 pounds a week, you're going to probably lose more than that, especially initially, but averaging 5 pounds a week, how much would that excite you to continue? So let me explain to you how it works and what it is. Wow, she looks great, right? All right, so the researchers figured out after 40 years, 100 studies on every diet out there, that they gave up on diets because they never found one that ever worked long term. Do you know from 1990 until 2025, 35 years, the obesity rates in this country have doubled? Does that sound like to any of you that diets are actually working? So the researchers said something's terribly wrong. So they stopped doing research on calories in, calories out. Because remember, they didn't invent diets. They were the scientists evaluating, did they work or didn't they? One of the things they found that of the weight people were losing, 25 to 40% was lean muscle mass. That was the reason everybody gained all their weight back. Because when you lose lean muscle mass, what your body does to compensate for not enough fuel, because see, you should be using the fuel inside your fat cell. You shouldn't be using your fat as your muscles for fuel. So the body, to compensate, slows down your metabolism. That's why you gain all the weight back, but it also slows down your own immune system. So the very diet you're on trying to lose weight, you're all making yourself unhealthy. So the research said, wait a minute, we got to do something different. We're going to create a program with no calorie counting. Let me repeat that for you ladies. No calorie counting. No. Done with that stuff. They said the only thing that matters to your body is not a calorie, because I would tell you this, 9 people in a year have ever gotten the definition of a calorie right. So I'm guessing that probably it's the chances that if you actually know the technical definition of a calorie, you probably don't. Why are you counting calories when you don't even know what it is? Because we've been brainwashed. I counted calories. I didn't know what a calorie was 24 years ago. I kind of do now. And let me explain to you, just not that I'm trying to impress you, but I want to understand who you're talking to. So I've been a nutritional researcher for 23 years. I did 20 shows on PBS. I was interviewed on the 4 biggest daytime shows in America, did over 1,500 live lectures in universities and hospitals and towns. They even flew me to China. But the reason I'm telling you, for 22 years, with all that academia, you know what it meant in the medical world, to the medical world, about this protocol that I didn't invent, it had nothing to do with inventing it? Zero. Why? Because there were no peer-reviewed human trial studies. So you don't fall for this trap about a scientific paper or doctor recommended ingredient, or it's all marketing. That in the medical world, that doesn't mean a darn thing. Zero, nothing. This is proven, published in 10 of the biggest medical journals in the world. So they're endorsing it by publishing and saying this is real. And the most important thing to all of you is it's safe. So they picked food, not based on calories, based on the amount of nutrition that those foods would have. And they get a grocery list, 30% of what you actually would buy, of what you bought last month, at your grocery store, all organic, proteins, fats, carbs, fruits and vegetables, and even salad dressings. But instead of giving you calorie amounts, they figured serving sizes for each of you. That really mattered big time, because remember, it wasn't about how much food you were eating, it was about how much nutrition you could get in your body. So it's pretty simple. If you could have less food with more nutrition, you're going to be healthier. It'd be like your car today. If you could go and pump number 1 says this gallon will take you 20 miles, that's our normal, the food you're actually eating. Even on this, because our food in North America is all but nutritionally bankrupt, where these foods from Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand would be the equivalent of pump number 2 saying this gallon will take you 100 miles. That's why this worked. So 30% you buy from the grocery store, got it? The other 70% you're going to buy from the researchers who'd gone around the world to Russia, to Mongolia, to Tibet, South America, New Zealand, to bring back these huge amounts of nutrients in very small quantities of food. And some of the nutrients came from regions of the world called blue zones where people are living to be 100 years old. I want that in my body, don't you? So now they had the ingredients. And what they were going to create was a nutritional system. Yes, a system. It wasn't just based on the food. It was based on a new way of consuming the food that they got a registered trademark U.S. Patent Office, my gosh, called protein pacing. This is developed by the top weight loss researchers in the world. They did it. They invented this. And 5 days a week to do protein pacing, you have 4 meals a day, unheard of on your diets. You start with the world's most perfect meals. Lunch from the grocery store list, serving sizes. Dinner from the grocery store list, serving sizes. And a 4th meal after dinner, these exotic foods from around the world. So 5 days a week, you're having 4 meals a day. Now, this will spin all of you out of control. 2 days a week, you do something called intermittent nutritional fasting, not water fasting, not time restricted eating. On those days, no food from the grocery store, only these exotic foods from around the world. But this time, you're going to eat 8 times a day. What? He's out of his mind. No, they invented it and proved it. She was eating every hour and a half to 2 hours. Diabetics on this, no insulin spikes. People that weighed 400 pounds, they weren't hungry, because you're never hungry for calories. If you think if you have the 100 pounds or 60 or 50 or 20 pounds to lose, you think your hunger comes from lack of calories? No! It comes from lack of nutrition. They proved it. Now wait, what do you hear the medical results on this? In a month, people's hunger came down 41%. Blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, all plummeted. But here was the big one that you all need to be aware of. We all suffer from this new medical syndrome, a great contributing factor to why so many people are overweight and why the amount of fat we have in our body is disproportionate to how much weight we weigh. It's called TDOS. The T for toxicity, the D for nutritional deficiency, O for being overweight, S is for stress. It's a registered trademark U.S. Patent Office. Oh, Peter Greenlaw. Oh, I guess that's me. I did discover this. And I'm not telling you to brag. It's really a big deal. So what it means is you're drinking, breathing any chemicals. And as you ingest those chemicals, the body, to protect us, its last line of defense is to take that chemical and stuff it in your visceral fat. That's the fat around your organs. That's why she shrank. Not because of exercise, because she was detoxing. Now, how did they know that? Because they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis proving this was a detox. The number one reason to do this is not to lose weight, to detox your body. Go look it up if you don't believe me. They're now finding microplastics in our brain and in our coronary arteries, along with herbicides and pesticides and Scotch-guard and Teflon. This will change the world. It's not a diet. Now, the two most important reasons to do it, one, detox. You know what number two is? Maintenance. I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks 23 years ago. I've kept it off for 23 years. I don't think I look fat anymore, but I was. My face, was like that. So anyway, maintenance. You know how simple it is? You have the exotic meal for breakfast every day. That's what I do. I have lunch and dinner, and then every 2 months I do another 48-hour intermittent nutritional fast. That was once I reached my goal. So if you got 50 pounds to lose, you wouldn't go on maintenance until you get the 50 pounds off. Our job, the coach, you get free coaching, by the way, free. How much is the coaching? $0. Because you've never done anything like this. And they even supply you with what the medical researchers use for their patients. It's called the Blueprint for Success. All the yellows, I know you can't read them, they're daily videos from the researchers telling you this is why it's safe, this is why diets don't work, this is why you should be excited about what's going to happen, this is why it's safe. These researchers, they don't have any products. We don't have any products. You're buying food from the grocery store and 70% from these exotic foods around the world. Does that make sense to everybody? It's so dramatic that, like I said, we normally say just give us 4 days, because normally in 4 days you'll lose at least as much weight as you have. How excited would you be if you could lose as much weight in 4 days as in 4 weeks of dieting? The only way you're going to know is to give it a go. And remember, it's a 100% money back guarantee on. Well, let me clarify that. When you go there, the free coaching, it's not a trick. It'll say 100% money back guarantee only on those 70% of the foods you're buying from these, because your grocery store, I don't think is going to give you, maybe you can do a deal with them and they'll give you all your money back at the end of 30 days. It sounds too good to be true. But here's my point. Can you allow your skepticism to keep you embedded in the very spot you're in and want to get out of? Do you get that diets don't work? I mean, let me read to you. This is a summary. This will give you a good idea. This was a landmark meta-analysis by Tracy Mann and colleagues. She's considered one of the top weight loss researchers in the world for almost 30 years. Was published in American Psychologist, where they reviewed 31 long-term studies on calorie-restricted diets and exposed the harsh truth. What's the truth? Listen to this, everybody. The analysis concluded that dieting itself predicts future weight gain. What the heck? They looked at the studies and the diets themselves predicted that people were going to gain weight. What are we doing? This is like insanity, isn't it? Just tell me I'm not crazy. Tell me. No, Peggy. No. Peggy, the insulin, the requirement for insulin with the diabetics, I forgot to mention that. Thank you for bringing that up. It went down 41% in a month, and the doctors monitoring their diabetic patients had to cut their meds by 50% in a month. This was invented, Peggy, by a diabetic chemist 25 years ago, or the original parts of it. Diabetics thrive on this. We have people with no thyroids. We have a man with a heart transplant, kidney transplant, people with no gallbladders. And we're not treating, curing, diagnosing, or making any medical claims whatsoever. So, Peggy, that you understand, that's why. You could never do this with regular food because you would be spiking insulin. These nutrients from around the world are so efficient. There's tiny quantities of food, but it's like the atomic energy of nutrition. That's a good way to think about it. Does that make sense, Peggy? 35 banks. There's nothing to sign up, but do you see the medical? Do you see the blue above her head there? The new health conversation. Do you see that? 35 banks. Again, Peggy, the same thing. You go to the new health conversation, you get a free coach, and they'll give you a grocery list. Take that to the grocery store, and then they'll show you how to order directly. You don't order from a coaches. We have nothing to sell. You order directly from the researchers from those foods in Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, And then the coaches coach you for free because you've never done this before. It's not just about, oh, here's the ingredients. No, 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 no. You need to be taught because it's when you're eating, how much you're eating, when you're eating. It's all laid out. There's no guesswork. You don't have to figure out anything. They even give you the serving sizes. No guesswork. Peggy, okay. So 30% of what you're going to eat. Did you not hear my explanation? If you didn't, I'll explain it again. So I apologize. I didn't know if you just came on late and you didn't hear the explanation that I'd done about why this program works. It was invented by the top weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world. 40 years of diet research, 100 studies, every diet out there, and they concluded no diet ever worked long term. And 2/3 of everybody gained more weight than they lost. And when they invented this, okay, I'm gonna explain it to you right now. So what they did was this. They told people there's no more calorie counting because a calorie. First of all, nobody knows even what a calorie is. I mean, well, 9 people in a year have ever gotten the medical definition correct. I didn't know what a calorie was 24 years ago. So here we are counting calories, and no one even knows what a calorie is. It sounds good. It sounds, it's a promotional thing, right? So the researchers said, what we got to do, we're going to pick foods for you. You're going to take only 30%, Peggy, of what you would buy or eat is going to come from your grocery store. Organic foods, proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, vegetables, and salad dressings. But instead of giving you calorie amounts, they're giving you serving sizes. But that's only 30% of the food you're going to get. The other 70% come from these other researchers who've gone around the world for 20 years to places like Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, to find essentially nutrients in enormous supply in very small quantities of food, or just the nutrient itself. And some of those nutrients came from areas of the world, Peggy, called blue zones, where people are living to be 100 years old. So the idea is that what they wanted to do was they wanted to give you a lot of nutrition in the least amount of food possible and then see what happened. So based on those two food groups, 30% from your grocery store and 70% of the food, you can't buy it in a grocery store. These foods from around the world, they don't exist. Well, they don't exist in your grocery store, I should say. Obviously they exist. Then they invented 2 new ways for you to eat food, like you were commenting before. So 5 days a week, they were having 4 meals a day. They started with these exotic foods for breakfast, lunch from the grocery store list, dinner from the grocery store list, and a 4th meal after dinner from these exotic foods. And then 2 days a week, that's what you were commenting about, Peggy. Yes, they were eating 8 times a day, and they were eating about every hour and a half, 2 hours. No diabetics had no insulin spikes at all. Like I told you, insulin, well, the need for insulin, that's really what happens because you measure, that's why you know whether you need to take medication because you need more insulin. The need for insulin came down 41% in a month, and all the diabetics were able to cut their meds by 50%. But they also measured liver enzymes. Well, the big thing they measured was chemicals, was toxins. And they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis proving this is removing the toxins from the body. Now, everybody gets coached because you've never done it. We got coached, okay? And what happens a lot of times is people go on this, maybe like yourself, although you don't have to, and maybe you have such a dramatic result that you have a sister or a friend or a cousin or someone at church, and they're asking, what did you do? What did you do? So a lot of times we end up with people coaching, becoming coaches, it's really, really rewarding from what we call the psychic income of seeing someone lose 100 or 200 or 300. I had one guy that lost 387 pounds. I think his life is a little bit different. By the way, that was in 20 months. So would I have to order? I'm just wondering what the food would be like. Again, the coaches, the reason it's a little bit challenging is because everybody's different. I don't know, for example, are you a diabetic? I don't know. We have kids as young as 2 doing this. We have a lady 91. We have people with no thyroids. We have people with a heart transplant, kidney transplant, people with no gallbladders. So it's really around. They'll go over all that with you. We're not trying to be deceptive, but there's only so much that I can do on social media like this. They'll do a Zoom with you and screen share. They have nothing to sell you, number one. So they have no incentive to try to convince you. But when you go to that website, Peggy, I believe you're going to say, oh my gosh, this could be the solution. And you didn't share with me, you're pre-diabetic. Okay, well imagine if your need for insulin could go down 41% in a month, you understand you'd no longer be pre-diabetic. Do you get that? Because pre-diabetic is what? Insulin resistance. Does that make sense, Peggy? Give me a yes or no. And also, Peggy, it's very important if you do decide to get a coach, make sure you there's a comment section and say, I'm pre-diabetic, because we have coaches who specifically work with diabetics. So you're not going to just have some rookie that's going to give, not a rookie, but we have people, we have women, for example, I don't coach women with menopause. I don't know about menopause, right? I mean, I know about it, but you know what I'm saying? We have people with all kinds of challenges that coaches are there to support them because someone supported them. That's what it boils down to. Blessed 888, that's great. So Peggy, would that be exciting for you? And like Peggy, I said, you have no risk here. You understand 70% of the food you would buy, it's 100% money back guarantee, not by us, but by those researchers. That's how convinced they are it's going to work. And nothing's 100%. I would never be that stupid to say something like that, right? But Peggy, you didn't tell me, and you don't have to, but obviously if you're pre-diabetic, I'm sure that weight is a concern. So if you don't mind, how tall are you, how much do you weigh? And I'll give you an honest, absolute with no exercise. If you want to exercise, it's better. But if you don't have, none of these people exercise that you're looking at, none. So when we go to Julie, for example, look at that. Now, as far as diabetics go, look at this. Well, he lost 40 pounds in a month, 65 years old, but look at his A1C. Went from 8.4 to 6.4, and his triglycerides, 242 to 124, that's in 30 days. He had to cut his meds, and his doctor cut his meds in half by 50%. But look at that. Really, look at that, right? Would that excite you? And it's just so amazing that people don't, well, this was invented. I mean, it was created. They figured it out from really diets were failing miserably for everybody, failing miserably. So let's see, who else? We're only at, come on, can we get a few taps on there, please? I want to get over 3,000 exactly. I can't believe I've gone, it's almost 3 hours. And some of you have hung in there. Are you crazy? I'm not that interesting, I don't think, but if you're looking for knowledge, you never can, repeating it is great. Anyway, so Peggy, at a minimum, so you understand you can go to that website. Well, let me show you, Peggy, and everybody else, just so you don't think I'm making things up. So you go to Google, type in the new health conversation, and there it is. And there's nothing to buy. But what is there that you want to look at is it's an exclusive podcast with the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world. That's not me. He's the scientist, and his team invented this new way of eating survival. This is long term. This is all about maintenance. Peggy, the main thing about this, I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks 23 years ago. I've kept it off for 23 years. 23 years. I would hope that would be an excitement to you. So, okay, we hit 3,000. Hold on. Peggy, I'll go look. Also, she's saying also in my bio is the, but you can see the website right there. Please do that, Peggy, for your own benefit. We're not trying to trick you. I mean, please understand that. And when you hear about the #1, oh, somebody blessed gave me a rose. Aren't you nice? 3,000 likes. That is just wonderful. So who else would like to ask me a question? I keep doing that, and then my voice, if I don't get some water or something soon, I'm going to be in big trouble here. But if anybody, I'll deal with one last question. Would anybody like to ask me a question before I close this out? Dr. Rhonda Johnson, of course. Oh, I guess she didn't want to stay. Okay, fine. So who else would like to ask me a question? We're at 2 hours and 58 minutes, so I'm going to go at least another 2 minutes just to get to 3 hours, just because I want to. So anybody else like to ask me a question? Wow, Lita gave me a heart and a hat. I know that's really good. I don't understand this. I'm a nutritional researcher. I know it's cool to get that. I just don't really know what it means, but I think it's supposed to be really, really good. Anytime I see a smiley face, I'm always happy anyway. So who else would like to? We all want you to be part of this movement, the new health conversation. There's nothing to join. There's no membership fee. You just, if nothing else, just be aware of and maybe turn your friends onto the website. It's free to, I mean, they don't have to be on my podcast to go to the website. So who else would like to ask me a question? Anybody? Got 1 minute to 3 hours. Woo, witching hour. Well, blessed, thank you so much for coming on board, and I hope it's been really, but most important thing is we want to help you change your life. We're handing you a gift. So someone hand us a gift. We're like paying it forward. That's what we're doing, right? All right, everybody, we're at 3 hours. So it's now 2 o'clock on the East Coast. I'll come back on in probably 2:30, 3 o'clock Eastern time. I just got to rest my voice a little bit. Thank you all so much for all the likes and all the love and all the help. And I wish you nothing but great health. And it's as simple as you go into that website and looking at the medical proof, and then you can get a coach if you want for 100% for free. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to sign off now.